Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I never use Discord. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
I
Is
don't
everything
see
good?
you. I hear you.
I
Let
don't
me
see myself
try.
either.
There's probably something.
It's probably me. It's probably me.
I am
Um,
getting a also notification. It's partly me, I think. Give me 1 second.
I'm testing video.
Oh wait, I need
Nothing
to.
comes up.
I know what I need to do here. Um,
Maybe I should have figured this out beforehand.
it's all good. Okay, I'm in. I'm restarting your camera.
No, it's on my end. My camera's just not working at all.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're good.
Am I? You see me?
No, I don't see you, but
That's okay. It's okay. I'm too beautiful for you fuckers.
you're kind of a gray screen with two blue cubes. It's kind of ominous.
Yeah,
Kind
on
of
my screen, the
scary.
cubes are like orbiting in a circle, like they're trying
Yeah.
to perhaps I think it's like a coded anti-Semitic message, perhaps something directed at Ethan Klein.
Yeah,
What do you
don't
think?
don't decode it, everyone. Don't pull out the Morse
Yeah,
code.
it's probably like a Japanese swastika or something.
Computer science majors in the H3
I
subreddit.
bet there's even a couple of skulls. Yeah, I don't know what the problem is. Maybe it's because I'm like trying to record at the same time,
That's what it is.
just so
Yeah.
that
Are
I can
you in
make money off posting this.
OBS? Yeah,
Is
yeah,
it
yeah.
OBS?
Yeah.
Oh, then why can't I see you? What do you have
Because
to
I
do?
have a second camera. It's like a little webcam.
Oh,
What you have to do is go in OBS and deactivate your camera, and then
okay.
switch the source in Discord. And
I'll just won't record it. Goodbye.
no, you could
I'll
set
just
it
steal
up.
the
It's all
VOD from
good.
your stream and upload it to my channel so I can make money from
Yeah.
it.
I mean, there you go. That's fine. I
That's the
forgot to
plan.
hit record.
Always make money, always grift, get bag, spend it on lawsuits against Ethan Klein. Or at least I would if I was Ethan Klein.
Yeah, it's smart.
Okay,
I
it's still
mean,
not
yeah,
working though.
this
That's the issue.
260K. It's gonna
What,
look
what did you
good.
say to do after you? I don't know what's going on here.
So go on OBS and wherever your camera is, just
Yeah, I have
click
it
deactivate,
selected.
and then go on Discord
Just
and switch the video
I had to
input to
click
like something else
deactivate.
if there's any other
I already
options,
closed. Okay.
and then switch it back to the main
Um,
camera.
OBS virtual camera. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, if you switch it to that and then back to the other one, there you go.
Oh,
I
hello.
see you. What's
I'm
up?
here. I'm very pink,
A little pink.
but I'm here.
I like the
I'm
new
pink.
set. It's real. You kind of have you get some lighting set
You
up.
guys know you might notice that our walls are exactly the same. It's almost like we're in the same house.
Don't don't do too much investigating. The colors and
Hmm.
the shades
Yeah, just
and the
change
time
the white
zone.
balance so that no one can tell. Otherwise, they're gonna figure it out.
I should do that actually. I wonder if I can do that real quick.
And remove this part from the VOD so that no one knows.
Erase history, rewrite
The whole
history.
idea is that Ethan sues you and you're gone. Okay, we can't let him know.
I'm so excited to get sued, man. Are you excited?
Yeah, it's great. It's definitely coming. He's definitely just not gonna like not talk about you at all for the rest of his entire stream's lifetime.
I love court and I love lawyers and I love lawsuits and I love
Ethan doesn't
paying
love court.
lawyers.
What Ethan does is he pays a guy to go to court for him. I don't think he's ever been himself once.
That'd be great footage. Though. That'd be the next Depp
You should
Heard
be
thing.
careful. You're gonna get cancelled for this. You're gonna get cancelled. You had a wanted international criminal on your stream.
Yeah, they're saying I'd get banned on Twitch if I co-streamed or if I hosted you. Is that what happens? Just your face? Like,
I mean, are you streaming on Twitch as well? I didn't know you were.
no, no. I was gonna dual
People
stream, but
say
then
that,
it was too late.
but I don't know if that's actually true. I'm pretty sure they actually got rid of that rule because Hasan kept doing it. But I mean, I'm
Oh,
not exactly sure. Like Destiny's banned on Twitch, and he debates people all the time.
right.
So I don't think that's true.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like if Destiny was banned, like if that was actually a rule and people couldn't debate Destiny if they had a Twitch stream, he would be out of a job. So I don't believe it's true.
Yeah, people seemed very worried about it, but
I think it's just an excuse that Hasan made up because he doesn't want to talk to me.
yeah. So what do you want to talk to him about?
Um, the marketplace of ideas. I'm gonna ask him why he's best friends with Bernard Sanders right after he said that Zionists shouldn't be allowed to be the local dog catcher. And then, like, next month, he's going to go and sit next to Bernard Sanders. And then the next day, Bernard Sanders is going to go up and say, he's going to say, like, Israel has a right to exist. Israel has a
Yeah,
right to exist. And October 7th was the worst thing to ever happen in all of world history.
Bernie does like saying that shit.
Yeah. And
Um,
then, like, if someone protests him, he's going to say, shut up, I'm speaking, bitch. That's what he always does. He loves to say that to pro Palestinian protesters.
he
That's
did
Bernie
that.
Sanders
He
for
did
you.
that too.
Oh yeah, he does that
Kamala,
all
I
the
know
time.
Kamala did that.
I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Excuse me. I'm speaking. Take him away, police. Get him out
That's
of
a
here.
great
That's Bernard
impression.
Sanders.
That is totally him. Yeah,
And
I
then
mean,
the
I
next
don't know.
day, he meets up with Hassan Piker for a 15-minute interview. And Bernie Sanders is like, to his aide, what'd you get me in talking to this fucking pro-Palestinian Turkish man? Oh, I hate him. If only we could eliminate them.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, I don't know. I'm talking to him later. I can ask, but
Oh no, well, I'm
I
talking
didn't
to him
watch that
later.
full. Oh wait,
You're
yeah.
inviting him to this call. I'm gonna be here. You're gonna be like, "Hey, Hassan, get in here.
This is the
It's
classic
here. This
switch
is
up.
this is why everyone's here. Everyone's here to see BadEmpanada Hassan debate live. It's gonna topple the Ethan Klein Hassan debate.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like what is your perspective on like the argument of broad appeal, popular support versus um like use it like taking the conversation with Bernie and using it as a way to. I mean, I didn't watch the full thing, but as I understand it, they didn't really talk about Gaza at all, which
Mhm.
is obviously a problem. But I guess the other side of it being like garnering popular support by leaning into taking the opportunity to talk to them. And again, I didn't watch the full thing, so I don't even know to what
Yeah,
extent.
well, that's the only way that's gonna work is if you disagree with them. Okay, if you just go there and agree with them, who exactly are you pulling to your side? What are what's going on there exactly? He's not going there to be like, okay, Bernie, I think you're wrong on this thing. And then everyone's like, damn, that guy's making some good points. I'm going to go follow him. He doesn't do that. He goes there and he's like, oh, we're best friends. We agree on everything. So good luck on your anti-oligarchy tool, which is just a tour in order to get people to like vote Democrat, basically.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, so you are a proponent of the debate and the confrontation as a way,
I mean,
as
I'm all
a
for.
yeah,
Sorry, I'm just gonna say I'm all for Hassan talking to those people, but if he's just gonna talk to them and like be all buddy buddy friend with them, he's not bringing anyone to his side. He's not like appealing to the normies. He's not like bringing their audience over to him because he's not challenging them at all. All he's doing there is like, "Hello, I'm presenting my." He's like basically talking to them the same way David Pakman would. Like, give me a break.
yeah. I do you think I guess the consideration of like him doing that being that he could potentially just never get invited back, because I know you've talked about that as in the reason he's able
Well,
to
I mean,
get
if he doesn't
invited
get
in the
invited back,
room.
then what's the problem? What's the issue exactly?
I guess
Because it's not like he's using the opportunity to change anything.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the entirety of their conversation was, but I know like the New York Times piece, I feel like it's at least, you don't think it's like somehow moving the needle as far as presenting a leftist media perspective, setting aside what you're talking about with their the Bernie and AOC conversation, because I like it sounds like there was no challenge done, but like I mean like broader appeal, more people. Do you think that's just the value in that is lessened if it's not like what's the word, if everything's not being challenged, or do you know what I'm trying to
Well, I
say?
think to get presented, yeah, but I think to get presented in that way by them in the first place, it is firstly indicative of that the sort of thing that he's saying is not fundamentally seen as a threat by these institutions, like the New York Times, for example. And it's also indicative that perhaps the things that he is saying are not actually pulling people to be more radical or whatever it is, whatever the excuse is that he does or that he comes up with for this stuff. Because basically, if you are hiding what you really believe and preaching what you supposedly don't really believe, and these people are pulled in by that, then ultimately, what is it that you're actually doing? You're being wrong. You're just being wrong, and you are preaching wrong ideas to people that you claim not to believe in for some supposed future payoff where you suddenly be like, ah ha ha, these are my real beliefs. I was hiding them the entire time. And I guess I'm going to pull these people into that. I'm
Yeah,
not
I
sure that
guess.
that is actually the case.
Yeah, I mean, there's the being wrong and then gathering a large audience of people while being like wrong on an issue, um, but maybe better. I mean, would you agree? Like generally, the types of issues he covers, he's better than most like liberal commentators, aside from um,
I think there's actually a lot of liberal commentators who are as good or better than him.
hmm,
Like, what is the meaningful difference between the average Intercept writer and Hassan Piker?
you consider like I don't know, like Ryan Grimm, Jeremy Scahill, those guys to be
Those guys
liberal.
are very liberals, very liberal. If
Hmm.
Bernie Sanders told him to jump, they would ask him how high.
You think so? I haven't
Meaningfully,
read their
I
their
don't think there's a huge
commentary on
difference between
Bernie.
them.
I
I
know
don't think
like
there's a huge difference between those two
a
guys and
lot of their
Hassan.
journalism I feel like has been pretty um like consequential in terms of like, I guess their coverage of Screams Without Words, just to give one example, in the last couple
Mhm.
year and a half. But
Okay, they're better than
I
Hassan then. You're right. They're better. Hassan says rapes happen on October 7th. They
I
don't.
don't, yeah, I he's talked about the case of testimony from not October 7th but in captivity post October 7th from a hostage that was rescued. Is
Yeah,
that
one hostage who said that happened, and that's the only evidence for it, not corroborated by anyone else. That's the only remotely credible testimony that the Israelis have presented related to sexual assault.
Yeah. I mean, I
But
don't. You'd have to talk to him about
Hassan
that
said, but then
specifically because
Hassan
I don't.
also said, like, I mean, Hassan also, like, he's like, I don't deny that rapes happened on October 7th. I deny that there was systemic rape used as a weapon of war. But the thing is, you don't have to give them that. You don't have to be so, like, you don't have to take the easy route like that because they don't have any evidence of anything happening on October 7th. They made it up wholesale, so why give them that even?
Yeah, I guess in one sense that makes sense, but also it's like the there is a possibility of anything that could have happened, but even if it's not corroborated, you can say we don't know rather than because there's no evidence, nothing happened. I feel like those are two different
Well,
statements.
until there is any evidence of something happening, you can just throw it out because if someone creates like this whole narrative, okay, there was rape on October 7th, before they've seen any evidence of that, then okay, what if I was to say that space aliens did October 7th actually? There's just as much evidence of that. So where is the line here? We just have to like pretend that this thing could have or might have happened because they say so, even when they have no evidence for it. I
Yeah,
feel that's just giving them way too much.
yeah. I mean, I could see that. I guess the more what's the word? I don't even know if it's safe, but just saying like sexual violence occurs during conflicts. However, there's no evidence for this in this case, and it's being weaponized regardless to, inflame the fans of genocide. Like you can, I feel like that's what I've seen, how I've seen Hasan talk about it, and I don't think, I mean, you'd agree that that's um, sexual violence is a routine part of war and conflicts, but uh,
I mean, it's safe to think that okay, maybe it could have happened, but that's not what the Israelis have ever been saying. The Israelis
oh,
have
of course.
always been saying we have this like inexhaustible, uncontestable
Oh
evidence
yeah,
that
yeah.
this
I'm not talking
happened,
about.
and then when you actually look at it, it's like here's this guy who swears this thing happened. Oh, by the way, 6 months later, we found that he wasn't even actually there, or like this totally anonymous witness who just so happened to come forward 2 months later, presented by the Israeli state, says they saw something happen to someone else, and it's like the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard of in your life. And I mean, when you compare that to the Palestinian like rapes in custody, it's like okay, uh, a physician conducted an autopsy and found like perforations in a 17-year-old boy's anus. Okay, if there was anything remotely like that that happened on October 7th, the Israelis had full access to the entire site within 24 hours. They had untouched full access to all of the forensic evidence, all of the corpses. Every single thing that was there was in their hands, and they found nothing. Not one autopsy, nothing. And that speaks more than enough by itself.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I agree. Um, Hasan, I don't know if you want to talk to him, but yeah, like you can, I guess, if there's stuff
We'll
that
see.
you've uh
We
he
can make
says
it
he
as a
can he
nation
can come
goal.
on, he's down to come on and talk to you.
Mm-hmm. I'll
Or
get him
maybe the
in
three of
there.
us. I don't know.
Can you present me?
Um
Wait, before we bring Hassan in, I want you to like put me on trial for all of the allegations against me, all my crimes.
oh, like
Is he down to wait?
your
I think that'd
internet
be fun.
crimes? Yeah,
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 all
yeah.
my crimes.
No, we talked about this a while ago. Yeah, we
Ryan
can do that.
Beard.
Yeah,
He
yeah, yeah, I remember.
Ryan Beard was very angry at you last time. He had some accusations to levy against me.
Yeah,
He also
I've
he popped into my stream last week and he was very angry at me
what do you
as
say?
well. I don't know. All I know about him is that once he tried to get to crowdfund a documentary about how he's fat. That's the only thing I know.
Yeah, I think he's talked about fat phobia on his channel. I think he's also in um Ethan Klein's chat. I've seen him kind of doing stuff like being like,
Okay, so he's just a Zionist then. There's no way that someone can
yeah,
be an Ethan Klein chat like that unless they're just a Zionist.
yeah. It's like what was the
Explains it.
message? I saw him saying something to the effect of, "Thank you for speaking up about anti-Semitism, Ethan Klein." And it's like, all right, well, there it is.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean,
Man, I'm so pink.
opinion discarded, but I mean, yeah, I like I remember because you sort of are the boogeyman of the internet, and I've
Ooh.
had multiple experience where you, in terms of like he who shall not be named, like I don't know, I had to keep you secret before bringing you on stream. You weren't in the first
So
thumbnail.
funny.
I'm not allowed to
That's
talk
so
about
funny.
you. Why do you think that is? And then, or I guess to start off, like I've had people that I know that are normal usually send me screenshots of things that have you showed to be like faked, right? And
Mm.
basically saying like this guy is crazy. And my
Hmm.
argument has always been that I really appreciate your videos, and I think um there's a certain consistency like over the years that's not there for many commentators. Like if you look back on your videos about Israel Palestine, it's consistent, and then pre October 7th. And I think that's like indicative of a certain principle that people seem to ignore in favor of, I don't know, talking about like whatever you said online. What are the biggest things people confront? Like the biggest
Mhm.
things that people, when they say that guy's crazy, what do they bring up?
Well, I mean, the origin of all of this stuff came from like Vorsh's community, like literally 5 years ago, where like Vorsh needed an excuse not to debate me. Um, Mostly because I was actually anti-imperialist and he was like incredibly weirdly like pro-democrat, like I'm gonna Photoshop lasers onto Joe Biden's eyes, Democrat sort of guy.
Lolicon NATO.
Yeah, and his community sort of came up with like this sort of narrative that now Ethan Klein is going with as well. It's like this guy is insane. This guy he has like a Discord full of people running harassment campaigns. He said this, he said
Is that
that.
where that started?
I've seen. Yeah, it
Like
was all
back with
Vorsh's
Vosh?
community, and
Oh,
I think what
interesting.
it was is like people would type like bad empanada bad things into Google, and the first result would be like a Vorsh subreddit post about me or something, and they just went with
Hmm.
it, and it became like a game of telephone from there. And a big part of it was definitely that I was saying the correct thing about Palestine instead of being like really like cowardly about it, like since the very beginning. And Vorsh's community, of course, are the people who jumped on that as well. They were early adopters of that. Like, oh my God, this guy is giving me anti-Semitic vibes because he said that Israel shouldn't exist. That sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Vosh being like in terms of political streamers for the left at that time, he was like most influential or one of the more influential
Yeah, he's dropped off
people.
the face of the earth now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
Good,
know
I
what that
guess.
guy's up to. He's kind of doing like Trump bad content or
I
whatever.
think
But
he
at
decided
the time, it was
to just stop interacting with other people at all on his stream because it got him into like, his whole taxes for the controversy, and everyone talked about it. Now it's like, well, if I never talk about anyone else, they won't talk about me. And honestly, it's working. So good on him, I guess.
yeah. I mean, get your bag, but also yeah. I feel like that's a big part of like the influence he had over like this space of creators at the time meant that weirdly like random people that do video essays would be like, look, this is what Vosh's community is saying, and Vosh's
Yeah.
leftist and Vosh's community is leftist, so Bad Empanada must be crazy. Is that kind of
Yeah.
how that
Yeah, I
happened?
mean, that's how, and there's a direct line into how Ethan Klein got that, because Ethan Klein. If anyone watching this doesn't know, Ethan Klein is in a Discord server called the Bad Empanada Support Group, the Victims of Bad
Is that
Empanada
real?
Support Group. I'm not making, yes,
That's
yes,
the
I have them
name of
all in
it?
there. No, I had them all in there since before he was even in there.
That's awesome.
Um, and so since the beginning, like ever since I started making videos on him, like he linked up with like Lorna Box and Aristocracy. Those are two people who came from Vorsh's community, you know?
Right.
And they fed him like that narrative about me. So there's a direct link there between the Vorsh stuff and the Ethan Klein stuff. There's a reason it sounds exactly the same. Like the Vorsh community made stuff about me, and now the people from the Vorsh community told Ethan Klein about that.
Hmm. What are the biggest chart? Because you said it started with the anti-imperialism stuff, and then how has
Mhm.
that escalated? Because there's wanted sex criminal, or what is it?
So
Wanted pedophile.
yeah, yeah. So Vorsh, there was plenty of evidence that Vorsh was a pedophile even before he showed his child porn on stream. He's
Right.
drawn child porn. He's technically drawn. Okay, that makes it, according to his community,
I
that
get
makes it
that
different.
comment a lot when in the video
Okay,
where I mentioned it.
if he thought it was goblins, leave him alone.
Short
So those
stack.
guys thought, yeah, like Vorsh had like an uncomfortable like number of like dozens of clips in which he talked about like pornography and age of consent and stuff. So I went over those clips and I said, okay, this guy sounds like a fucking pedo. And his community thought that in retaliation of that, they would like they make a fake Discord screenshot where I was admitting to being arrested, and they attached that like a picture of like a guy who committed a terrorist attack in Spain with a beard like a day earlier, and claimed that that was a picture of me being arrested. And I responded to that by posting like a YouTube short where I was walking in the street saying like, "Hello guys, it's me. I'm arrested. Oh no." And then that was like the end of that. It was like a little funny interaction. But then after that, other people, like looking for dirt on me, would type like "bad empanada bad thing" into Google, and what would pop up was that post on the Vorsh subreddit with a fake like Discord screenshot of me supposedly admitting to being arrested, and then they would repost that, and
And that was just from the
then this
subreddit.
led. Yeah, it was from Vorsh's subreddit. I think the original post is deleted now. I had an archive of it at some point, but I mean, it's not that big of a deal. But like then, early 2024. I started like getting targeted by this it was like a pro-Israel Telegram group founded by a big time like OnlyFans middleman who was outed by the Guardian like a little bit after this happened. It was called the Shirion Collective, like a pro-Israel like doxing and online stalking group. And they made like a fake screenshot that I supposedly posted on October 7th to try and accuse me of being a pedophile. And they started just spamming this everywhere. And basically that's where that comes from. And they also found the Vorsh subreddit like fake screenshot as well, and they started spamming that everywhere as well. So it's like a game of telephone that all began with Vorsh's community.
Do you feel like I guess does that feel like unfair, or like do you think about that even, or do you, I mean, I don't know, that like when I first entered the space making videos, I feel like it was kind of like a warning. And still we were planning on, or I was gonna do a fundraising, no, you were doing a fundraising stream, and I announced that I was joining it, and then I got enough backlash to where I took down the post, and then I talked to some other YouTubers, and they're like, it's not worth it. And first of all, I want to say I'm sorry, because that's pretty cowardly.
That's okay.
At the same time, no, it's like at the same time, there's enough people who I think are good, good people, good creators that seem fairly principled, that were willing to say it's not worth it optically to do this thing, like as a point of fact for YouTube. And I think
they may not just be principled in the end.
Yeah, it's possible, I think it's like, it's the divide between YouTube and content brain, and then like actually caring about the issues and caring about being consistent on the issues. And I think like if it's presented to people, if enough people feel one thing, and enough people, I guess stemming from a large political streamer feel a certain type of way that are strongly about someone, then it doesn't really, they're not going to go back through your videos and see what you've been talking about for a long time, because I guess just
this whole thing, it's like we come from a space that is just full of people who like imprinted on a certain YouTuber 5 years ago, and that's it. They're like dogs, basically, like love at first sight. This is my YouTuber. I will defend them to the death. They don't like this other YouTuber. That's all. That's all there is to it. If someone interacts with this other YouTuber, I will spam comments on their video in anger. So, I mean, that's the sort of space that we operate in.
Yeah. It's just not serious.
I don't really give that much of a shit about it, honestly. Like you said, you asked, like, what do I think about the people who post stuff against me? The worst part about it is that they think they're doing something. Like, they think that they're hurting me. That's the part about it that is the most annoying. But I do have like an unusually thick skin for this stuff, probably. Don't get involved into YouTube politics unless you're prepared for people to like start accusing you of pedophilia randomly. Because that's what happens when you are anti-Israel. Remember that.
How did you get a thick skin? Were you like bullied or like something, or like you're just born with it?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just...
it's thick. I
realized really early. I realized through experience with these people that they're powerless. They cannot do anything. It feels like at times they can do something, but most of them are never going to take the plunge from spamming shit online to actually doing something. So, you might get 100 death threats a day, but not one of them is real. That's the way that I see it.
Where did you, what was your political journey like? In terms of learning about politics and starting to care about them?
I think maybe I was just kind of lucky in a way, or maybe not. Like, since I was a teenager, I thought the same sort of stuff. I just didn't know as much about it. I never really thought about it that much, to be honest. Like, I never thought about it in that, like, I never, there's a lot of people in this space who have, like, a really fucking weird origin story where I used 4chan all day, and I hated women, and I thought the Jews controlled the banks, but then I watched a ContraPoints video, and now I'm a communist. There was nothing like that for me. Like, I don't know what to say.
You could have gotten a lot
It
of
could
views
just
off. You
be.
could have made a lot of money off that. That was a big style of video for a while.
Oh yeah, that was an entire fucking that was basically everyone for like a couple of years. That was literally every guy was like that. Our best friend Lonerbox is one of those. So
What did he
I
talk
just
about one time,
him. It's
like
not like that.
in doing race science in high school class or something? Do you
I don't
remember?
know something. Yeah, like he argued with his teacher or something about World of Warcraft. I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, this is just an archetype. These guys and they would like have arguments. I'm so glad we're past this now for years and years about how important it is to try to appeal to like racist, misogynistic 4chan men, as if like internet addicted incels are some sort of political force that we need to get onto our side. Oh, it all seems like so. This wasn't long ago at all. This was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. This stuff was still happening, and I'm so glad it's in the past now. But it seems like so insignificant compared to the stuff that we are talking about more often today. So I'm glad that as a space, the so-called breadtube has matured on from that sort of shit. And like the original breadtubers, no shade to them. A lot of them still make good content, but they're still making videos like about like YouTube plagiarism, and like ContraPoints is making videos where she's putting more effort into costumes than she is into thinking. So those guys haven't really evolved that much, but a lot of other people have.
The costumes are pretty good, so you know raises the bar of
I
potential
mean,
thinking.
I would imagine the costumes come first and the thinking comes second.
Hmm. Yeah, a lot of the I like H Bomber guy. I like all the old red like Big Joel. I like all their videos. Um, but you're right. You're yeah. In terms of political, like even
Big
just
Joel, hey, I got a,
political
I got a some
topics.
tea. Big Joel
Tea on
is
Big
way
Joel.
more he's way more radical than he lets you think.
Is that true?
Hmm.
Hiding power levels.
I'm just letting you all know.
I don't want
If
to.
you want someone, if you want someone who's pretending to be in the center, oof, look at that guy.
Oh, should we invite him on?
I mean,
Or let me
probably
get
he's
him
probably up
intro.
for it.
Hasan's up to hang out. He's
Like
in
you didn't
Discord.
ask him. Are you in contact with him? You should have asked him already. I
Yeah,
would
I
have
mean,
thought you would have.
I didn't know you guys were. I knew you guys. I know he emailed you about a
No, I
video
mean, I
you did
talked to
about
him
Kamala
once
Harris.
because
Yeah,
he wanted to like clarification on something, and then it was like I told him he should make a video about birthright because he said he went on birthright. I think it's a secret,
hmm.
and I think he wants to make videos about safe stuff, I guess. Which I mean,
Hmm.
okay. I mean, to be fair, like I mean, if you want to be a normal person who makes videos that appeal to normies, okay, whatever. You're not obliged to like become a political dude.
Yeah, I would say like the history of BreadTube being anti-right content means that there's a significant portion of the fan base that still view people as political actors, and hold on to that thought rather than, I guess, analyzing the content that is mostly media criticism. And it's great media because I love all the videos, but uh, it was always a fandom thing first. So the lingering
Mhm.
thoughts people have about BreadTube revolution, uh, I don't know. People still a lot of times
I
think
mean,
that, and
you
it's
sort of do have to remember as well that BreadTube got started as people making fun of Ben Shapiro and
yeah,
Jordan Peterson. And the people who make fun of Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson is like basically 90% of people with a pulse. So that was a huge tent, and it was bound to explode eventually because there was no similarities between anyone involved
hmm.
or between everyone involved. Like there was nothing holding them together except, isn't Ben Shapiro a dumbass? I mean, yeah, people are still making anti Ben Shapiro videos like 10 years later. It's literally almost 10 years later.
So you think it's like rather than being somehow principled, the principles are being anti like right wing psychotic person.
I think it got started with that. Like it got started with like, okay, these guys suck. Everyone knows that they suck, and this sort of created a space where there was a lot of room for conflict because everyone within it agreed on nothing more than like Ben Shapiro sucks. And then people found over time that like oh, these other people are further left than me, but I got popular by debunking Ben Shapiro, and that makes me left. Ergo, there must be something wrong with them, and
Tanky.
it'll evolve from there. And yeah, they're a tanky. There we go. We have the word that we can throw at them to not have to actually respond to anything that they say.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. I remember you made some videos about the Professor Flowers Vosh situation, I think. This
Yeah.
is way back, and that was my first debate where I got viciously owned online because I have like severe social anxiety. But that I thought was a pretty good parallel in terms of what Professor Flowers was talking about as like resistance to colonialism violence being, don't compare that to oppressor violence, a very simple
Hmm.
principle. Um,
Yeah.
you see that a lot like now in like post October 7th in terms of the broader discourse about Israel Palestine and violent resistance. And I mean, basically she was right and you were right, and now the people opposing that situation were liberal Zionists, and it's like watching it play out in real time. It's like it's not like it isn't predictable, but I think for me early on, it was just a feeling I had that what was happening there with Vosh and Professor Flowers was like wrong, right? But
Mm.
um, I guess that problem repeated itself here, and by the time it happened, all the people that were against it are just straight up Zionists. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Warsh himself is like now. Warsh was pretty anti-Israel, but he was sort of strategically pro, like not as anti-Israel as he normally was if he didn't like someone. So that's, very weird. But I mean, aside from him, yeah, like a lot of these other people are just Zionists now. Like, and I don't know, maybe it was too early. Like this was like 2022 or something. What am I saying? It was too early. Like I think most people in YouTube politics, in at least in the space that we have operated in, like the former breadtube space or whatever, were just really dumb in the end and did not know about any of this basic stuff. And I had the misfortune of actually knowing about this basic stuff, and to them it seemed like insane because they had never heard it before, and it challenged a lot of their preconceived biases. Thus, it was inconceivable, and they had to like shout at you, and they had to shout at Professor Flowers and all these other people for sort of getting it, but not on the level and without like the sort of passion for it where you could scream back at them as they were screaming at you.
Yeah, you've been in a couple debates before.
A few people don't debate me. I would love to debate, but they're all afraid. It's the saddest thing ever.
They're cowering in fear. Did you debate Lonerbox ever?
I debated him, yeah, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And it was literally he wanted to defend aristocracy, who was a small Zionist anime avatar streamer whose career I ended, which I'm very happy about. So he debated me specifically to defend her and explain how she wasn't actually a Zionist and how she's actually like a cool leftist. And yeah, that was
What was
basically
she
that.
saying on her stuff? Like something about uh, there's not enough room in Israel, so we need to go to the West Bank
Yeah,
or
like
something.
there's not enough room in Israel. So like Palestinians can't have the right of return because there's not enough room in Israel. And then she's like, to justify that, there's actually so little room in Israel that, if we want to
There's
have
not
green
enough
space for our
room.
children, we have to go and colonize the West Bank. And Lona Box nobly came to her defense and explained to everyone how I was actually a tanky anti-Semite. And
Yeah,
yeah. Anyway,
and she was right.
Hassan's in the chat. Get him in
Yeah,
here.
let's bring him on. Hasan versus BadEmpanada confrontation
Oh
debate.
yes, get in
This
here. Wait, no, we
is
should make them donate more. We should make them donate more first. How much is
yeah.
it?
Wait. Yeah, okay, Hasan, we're bringing you on, but let's see where we're at. How about this?
Let's
I
fucking extort
refreshed
them.
it. Two hundred
One
thirty-seven
sec, I
thousand,
gotta. I'll be right
and
back
we
while you extort them.
237,000 plus. Somebody chat do the math on this. And then I'll decide what the arbitrary number is for what it needs to be for Hasan to come on. Because yeah, that's beautiful. If you're rich, also maybe from making a lot of money doing something on the internet, throw some money down, and I'll highlight it. This is the tanky destruction stream. This is the dang red blue October. What is it? Someone that knows history, let me know. It's 278K. I have to shave my mustache at 275K. Mods, sign us in the chat. How do I add somebody to the call? Hold on a minute. Wait, I accidentally called Hasan separately. Hold on. Oh. Yo. What up? Can you hear me? Check, check. How should we format this? And I need to add BadEmpanada. I didn't know. I didn't do this correctly. Hello? How do I add? Chat.
Hello, hello, hello.
Yo.
You hear me?
Yeah, what up? We lost BadEmpanada. I think he's cowering away in fear. He's backing out. Can you hear me? HasanAbi, can you please tell the chat to donate? Chat, please donate. Do I add you to the call?
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can't hear you. I don't know why.
Streams 12
Hold
hours
on.
a day.
Let's see.
Wait, hold on. I'll create a group DM. Son.
Okay.
And this is what we're gonna do. This is so exciting. My 3 best friends, all who I fully agree with in everything that I do.
I'm here. Hasan Piker.
This is
Hasan
it.
Piker.
It's over. Should I go in the corner as like the referee or what do they
Oh,
call
wait,
it?
hold on. I bet you
Hold
thought I
on, hold
wouldn't
on. You're
come
not
for you
big
too,
enough.
Hasan.
You're not big enough.
I bet you thought I would only go after Ethan Klein, Hasan. I don't have the beard. It doesn't work anymore.
Ethan
Oh, he's
Klein's
not even in
editor's
here.
about to go nuts on this. No, he's not. He couldn't hear me.
Hello, can you guys
Professional
hear me?
streamer, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, I can hear you as well. Perfect.
Hell yeah. What up, dude?
Okay, perfect. All right.
Hasan Piker.
Wait, I can't see you, Noah. Is that normal?
Oh no. I'll
No,
turn
he's the moderator.
It's gonna be webcam. Yeah, I'm like the moderator.
Okay.
I guess I'm the debate. This is the clash of. This is.
Hasan Piker. I bet you thought that you were safe. Ethan called you
Dude.
out for being scared of me. You know, Ethan
Dude,
was very adamant. Why
I
don't you
can't-
debate BadEmpanada?
I can't believe I'm in the presence of such a monstrous tanky who wants the America empire to end. This
They're gonna
violent
ask you this one at
tanky,
TSA. They're gonna ask you about this one at TSA.
this dangerous man. I just came in here to talk to you about the dangers of platforming people with BadEmpanada's opinions. I think in order to balance it out, you need to have just straight Hitlerian Israel defenders on. I think that's true liberalism. That would be progress, I think.
Like one on
I
each side of
guarantee
me.
you.
Yeah.
Devil
I'm
and
here-
devil
well,
and
I'm
angel.
here as a defender of the Democratic Party, specifically
We know.
Bernie SS Sanders.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm here to defend the Democratic Party's position because I think that they're working tirelessly around the clock for a ceasefire. And I think people like BadEmpanada don't understand or appreciate that Kamala Harris would have been different in the way she dealt with Israel. Yeah, she would have invaded. A coalition of the willing would have been put together, and she would have invaded Tel Aviv by now. That's what I think.
I
You
mean,
concur?
yeah, that's
BadEmpanada?
precisely what I think you believe. So next time you meet Bernie Sanders, are you gonna yell at him?
No, I'm not going to yell at him because I'm not a freak, and I'm not going to yell at.
So
I'm not going to here. If you want to have an honest conversation, or a serious conversation, I had an entry point in that conversation with Bernie and AOC as well, but unfortunately they were literally late to their rally to begin with, so we didn't get to talk thoroughly about it. And I don't even know if they'll give me another interview at this point because like. I have been very critical of their position on Israel, and I've been talking to other people in their other people like Faz and numerous others behind the scenes to try to get them to engage in direct action. Aside from the rallies that they're organizing, because I thought that it would be beneficial both politically and also beneficial for bringing about humanity to the politics that they represent. But it would be politically beneficial for them to organize a protest or a rally or do something around the unjustifiable detention of Mahmoud Khalil. And that was actually in that 9-minute conversation that we had. That was my entry point into it. Like I was going to talk to him about this on First Amendment grounds and basically get a better assessment, better understanding of what his position is, and to maybe even talk to him further about like why he calls it, why he consistently brings about the issue of Israel, but like only focuses on Benjamin Netanyahu, or why he doesn't call it a genocide. Because these are, I think, valid questions to ask someone like Bernie Sanders, especially because my expectation of someone like Bernie Sanders is that he's supposed to be infinitely more knowledgeable on the situation than like the average Democratic Party politician is supposed to be, given his long history of being an out and about socialist, and even sometimes like offering critical support to, with some notable exceptions like Yugoslavia, offering critical support to even revolutionary socialists or even like anti-imperialist militancy throughout his career. I wanna like my expectation from him is someone who has been definitely more, dare I say, radical, even though that doesn't really mean anything in American politics. My expectation from him at this point would be to be leading the charge of stopping all aid to Israel and issuing boycotts and divestments and threatening sanctions upon Israel. But he's nowhere near there. And I think that's very disappointing as someone who was a big fan of Bernie Sanders, despite my differences in opinion with Bernie Sanders.
Well, I think, as you said very well once, that Zionists should not even be allowed to be the local dog catcher. And Bernie Sanders well eclipses the point of being a Zionist by any reasonable standard, even your standard, I'm sure. AOC, I'm not exactly sure. She seems to be a lot better than him, but
Yeah, I agree.
they are absolutely grooming her to be something that she probably didn't want to be initially, and it's working. So that's kind of sad. Sanders in like 2016, he did seem to be something that was genuinely inconvenient for the party, but they have well and truly tamed him at this point. And I think it's been that way for a while. I think even in 2020, it was already kind of like that, even though, he did still run for the nomination. He fell into line very quickly afterwards.
Yeah, I don't think he's, I think you're mistaking a lot of like Bernie's like genuine convictions and how wrong he is with him being a machine politician. Like I
mean, he can be wrong and still help the machine in the end.
Yeah, no,
Like,
he did. He absolutely did. But I also think that Bernie Sanders is just he has this like old labor Zionist framework, I think, that is just utterly ridiculous, and that is something that he hasn't been able to shake away. But given what he has done in terms of offering support, in terms of being unafraid to endorse certain viewpoints, both on the activist front, but also on his also in terms of the people that he endorses, it almost feels like there's a sense of shame coming from him with regards to that contradiction that he recognizes to a certain degree. Maybe it's a little too parasocial, but I mean, I guess we are making analysis about politicians, so I guess that's not all that parasocial. But like, he's the type of person who has these opinions, but also won't get in the way of more radical perspectives. Like, he's not. I don't think he uses any amount of time, in the finite amount of time that he has in mainstream political discourse. He doesn't use any moment of that to criticize like Hamas or Hamas defenders or anything like that, and instead focuses mostly on Israel, even if his focus on Israel is not even as radical as, of course, or not even as honest. Let's not even say radical, not even as honest as Rashida Tlaib's analysis of the situation, or Ilhan Omar's analysis of the situation, or even, and I can't believe I'm saying this, AOC's analysis of the situation, who called it a genocide far before Bernie Sanders did. And if I'm not mistaken, he still has yet to call it a genocide.
Yeah, he hasn't. But I mean, I think you're very, very generous to him. I think people are very generous to American politicians who specifically get into like a position of power, as Sanders has. I like this, as soon as they become like an elected official, like the standards for them just go through the floor. Like, you expect almost nothing from them, and it's excuse after excuse after excuse. I think Americans, I think I've heard you say this before. I mean, I might be incorrect. I might just be misremembering. But Americans love to say, like love to frame themselves as being like in an exceptional situation that someone like me simply cannot understand. And therefore, our politicians need to be more shit. I don't think it's the politicians.
That's a misunderstanding of my analysis. My job is a communicator, as is your job, right? We're trying to make a convincing argument to get people to understand our worldview. And by the way, I don't think you and I, the reason why I always will maintain the position that your video essays are brilliant, regardless of your methods or the way you present yourself online, is because I understand that you and I are on this issue and on virtually every other issue on the same side. But as a communicator, especially as a communicator that is in the United States of America, I understand the utter moral depravity of the average American, and I understand their lack of interest in these subjects. So, in order to make a more convincing argument, I always try to message to the room that I'm speaking to, if that makes sense. And I think a part of that is also to grade politicians on a curve as well. This isn't to say that they're like doing fantastic or to defend them, but there are, as you've also presented yourself, like there are certain instances where they engage in defensible actions. Like the nuance that exists between AOC and Bernie Sanders is one that you recognize as well. But if you were to ask the average person that is like against both of these people, like, you know, people that look at it and say, well, these are both politicians that exist within a bourgeois capitalist duopoly framework, they're not doing what is necessary in this situation. I apply that nuance across the board. I apply that charitability and nuance across the board to all politicians that I talk to, or all politicians that I analyze in general. Like Chris Van Hollen is a great example of this, right? He's a regular run-of-the-mill Democrat. Do I think he's a good dude? Do I think he's going to bring about like a proletarian revolution? Fuck no. But within the confines of Kilmar Abrego Garcia's return, or at least like kickstarting the conversation and getting Americans to pay attention to the immigrant detention structure that we have in the United States of America, I think what Senator Chris Van Hollen did, which was to fly to El Salvador and directly demand proof of life for Kilmar Abrego Garcia, was incredibly important. Was incredibly important because it drove the media cycle. It led to more Americans finding out about this unjustifiable detention strategy that the administration is offering. So I guess basically what I'm saying is I understand the moral depravity of the average American and adjust my commentary appropriately to that, just like I understand the lack of interest from the average American politician in addressing any of those issues, and I grade them on a curve.
Okay, but the problem is,
People, by the way, are
what I
saying, no, you
say
got to
in general.
restart stream because you're at 12 hours. Sorry.
Does it cut the end off or the start?
I don't know.
Because if it cuts the start off, which I'm pretty sure it does, this is fine. Restarting the stream will fuck it up a little bit. Maybe not.
I don't know. Everyone is just saying restart. But you're the streamer. I've never streamed on YouTube, so I don't know. I don't know how it
Spends
works
2
on
minutes
YouTube.
fixing the audio
Who
at
the
the
fuck
start.
streams 12 hours?
Yeah, I've been streaming for like 24 even. But yeah, you do this 12 hours a day. What the fuck, man?
I do it on Twitch, so Twitch
Now it
doesn't
looked
have
like
that.
he wanted to die within like a quarter of a Hasan Piker stream length.
To be fair,
That was yesterday.
I ate hot chips. But
You got just so white. I mean, I am too, but
Someone said it cuts
I
the
can eat
end
hot
off.
chips.
it cuts the end. Okay, then I'm gonna restart.
Well, I don't
this.
know.
Give me 1 minute. Ending stream.
Oops.
Okay. Back in live, I believe. We're at 245,000 plus 20,000 plus 12,000.
Hell yeah. Get
It's a
everyone
lot.
here.
It's a lot of money. Okay, I think we're back. Hello, people.
Yeah, you're live again.
We just all agreed to support each other and agree with everything that each of us say always, and we're best friends and we're moving in together and we're
Mhm.
roommates.
Yeah.
So
I'm
I'm
going to
moving
the
to Argentina.
Argentinian prison that you guys are streaming out of.
Jail.
You should just leave the US, by the way. I don't know why you don't just do that. I mean, I'm sure you have like 100 friends who you all love there, but you should just leave the US. It makes everything way easier. You can't get sued
No.
by Ethan Klein, for example.
Go to Israel.
No, I was just talking about this earlier because there was like a prominent liberal academics who study fascism are leaving the United States, and here's why. There was like a New York Times article on it, but it's like I'm stubborn. I'm a very stubborn person, and I feel like I'd rather stick it out and see where it goes rather than to leave the United States of America.
Well, I used to think that the US actually was probably the best place to be because it's one of the few countries where you basically can't get arrested purely for speech unless you're like threatening someone. But now, no, obviously not.
Yeah, no. Now it's resembling more and more Israel every day. It's wonderful. My favorite country, the most moral nation. Am Israel high?
Yeah, so I hear you're a liberal Zionist, Hasan, and I hear
I'm a liberal Zionist.
pedophile.
But
So
going
how do I
back to
get both of you
going
in
back to what
trouble?
we were talking about. Going back to what we were
go
talking
back,
about.
go back,
Because
go back.
the point I was
You
trying
said
to
a
make is
whole
that,
thing. I
like,
never got the chance to respond.
yeah, exactly.
what it
Like
was at
with
this
Chris
point.
Van Hollen, do you understand my perspective or like the framework that I operate off of? Like
You're
where I
saying
make
that one individual thing that he did was a good thing, basically.
Yeah. I don't shy away from politicians unless they're like insane. You know what I mean? Unless it's like Marjorie Taylor Greene, I guess, and I'm gonna look like a fucking clown ass. I don't shy away from giving credit to politicians and offering positive reinforcement to politicians when I feel like they're doing something that I think is appropriate, like moving the needle in the direction, because it's the same framework that I operate with within the Democratic Party, where like these are the available platforms of influence, and I will always go there because as long as our interests align, I have no issue going to those platforms, because at the end of the day, they are giving more legitimacy to myself than vice versa, in my opinion.
I mean, giving you legitimacy, like what's the point of that really? What is the point of them giving you legitimacy if in the end you do kind of demonstrate support for them in many cases? That's the thing. I think people see you very much as a Bernie Sanders guy, even though that is sort of contradicted by what you said earlier. Maybe it's erroneous, but people very much see you as like a big Bernie Sanders supporter. I wouldn't say I see you as like a big Bernie Sanders supporter. I think I see you more as someone who maybe doesn't like what he says, but is a little iffy on making that clearer, which I think you sort of did just a second ago. I think you preempted everything I said about you, and you were ready with that. It's cheating in
No,
a
I
debate,
actually
by the
have
way.
talked about this quite a bit, even before and after your statements, as a matter of fact. But you know how it is with clips. You probably don't get that from.
I mean, I do watch what you say sometimes.
Yeah.
Like,
Gotta tune
I
in.
don't click, like, I don't go to any place that posts like a clip saying, I don't think that some such place would even exist. Like Hasan Piker says positive thing about Bernie Sanders. Here's a 20-second clip of it. I don't know
No, I
what
know.
place would that be?
But I talk for 8 hours a day. It's very hard for you to in any, like, unless you're watching 8 hours a day, you're probably not going to see the exact same thing that I told you just now. I've spoken about probably 25 to 35 times whenever some chatter comes in and annoys me, and then I go on a fucking long and convoluted rant about
You should stop
the
reading your chat, by the way.
yeah, that's part of the puzzle. That's part of how I do this this back and forth. But
I like
it's
just
difficult for
right
people to
now,
grab.
real quick.
What's up?
Like BadEmpanada, you made like 1 or 2 or maybe 3 videos talking about the AOC Bernie interview, and then I don't know how much you watch of Hasan talking about it, but like just talking to each other now and clearing that up. Do you feel like that clears up anything now that you see that he's kind of
No, not
has
really,
a
because I think a lot of that, like there was the initial reaction of the interview, and there was like responses to people who want Hasan, responses to people like who want Hasan but were defending sort of like the whole idea of like engaging with the mainstream Democratic Party and like sort of trying to pull people to your side from them and stuff like that. And yeah, that was basically the whole thing there. It wasn't so much like I said something, Hasan said something, and I responded to it. It was more like that. Um, what I would say is that Americans are way too optimistic with their former politicians. And if there is something that you should preach, it's that these people are ultimately fucking useless, and you're gonna have to do shit yourself.
Yeah,
So what does that look like?
here's the thing. I
Heard of
I
Mario's
understand
brother?
what.
Sorry, go ahead, Hasan.
No, I understand that like the modern Democratic Party is entirely useless. The Democratic Party is well, it's not entirely useless. They can be put to good use on select issues or across the board. Maybe one day it could, in a totally idealistic world, they could be a functional working labor party. Obviously, we're not there, and we might never get there. And I don't disagree with that, but this is I just wanted to offer clarity on the framework that I operate off of, because I think that you and I both will recognize that Americans don't have a semblance of class consciousness. And I feel like at this stage, the most important thing you can do is to pull people back from reactionary discourse, pull people back from reactionary ideals. And the best possible way to do that is by constantly reasserting the position over and over again that the Democratic Party has to have a class first politics, and also that these people that have been targeted as like vulnerable populations, marginalized identities that are presented as your enemy are not actually your enemy at all. It's simply a red herring, a distraction that the reactionary forces uses, and the Democrats are wholly incompetent at dealing with because they don't have this class first politic.
Okay. First thing here is that the whole reason why you have this idea that you have to like you're sort of stuck into working with the Democratic Party. It's not your fault, obviously, because you aren't every single person in the fucking United States of America. But this is sort of like a self-perpetuating circular logic. And I mean, I'm not blaming you for having every American has it. It's like we have to work within the Democratic Party because it's the only thing that's there. And then you do not do anything or you don't build an alternative to that. And you just keep reinforcing the initial premise over and over again. So Americans are stuck in this sort of rut where it seems like it's completely unrealistic to ever challenge the two-party system, so they don't try. And this is just sort of a self-perpetuating cycle. Because doing something like that takes a long time, takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of people. But this whole Democratic Party upright, people like Bernie Sanders as well, very much reinforce this, even if perhaps at some point he didn't mean to. Perhaps at some point he was really genuinely trying to challenge the status quo, and he only joined the Democratic Party because he thought he had to win the primaries. It was the only possible way. You know, as an independent, he had no chance. He probably didn't in that moment. But then there's also the fact that that logic gets you into this rut where you never ever try to do anything else. And there are many other countries where that had very strong two-party systems that in some cases lasted for like hundreds of years. The two-party system in the USA is younger than in some of those countries that broke it. And they very slowly worked from the ground up, like starting with local politics, building up to like the state level, building up to like the national level, building alternative structures, using the political capital they got from that, not like immediately running for president, nothing else like the fucking Green Party or something. What a fucking joke that is. Like they do nothing but run for the main office. But what I mean is like, you have to start small. You have to build up from that until you can eventually challenge on the main stage. Now, the issue of this logic from me now is that it's too late. Honestly, I'm not sure that we have time for this sort of thing before the consequences of climate change basically take over the agenda entirely, and whatever political system we're trying to get into in this way just totally breaks down. So, I mean, I guess people should still do it, but what I'm trying to say is Americans have like this circular logic that very much serves the Democratic Party as well. It is so good for them. And I think that by sort of working with people like Bernie Sanders, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, irrespective of who they are, as individuals, of whether they are genuine or not genuine, and whether they are great people or not, whether they truly believe in some of the shit stuff that they perhaps forced into advocating for just to stay in line with the Democratic Party, all of that doesn't really matter, because ultimately what they do is they serve this purpose where they give people this idea that you have your voice in the party. You have your voice here in the party already. AOC is there for you. Bernie is there for you. They're already fighting for you. You don't have to do that much yourself. Maybe you can go to the protest yourself. Maybe you can do something like that. But by golly, you do not try to make your own party. You don't try to do something independently. You don't try to like build an apparatus entirely independent of the party, not like the DSA, but entirely independent of it, where you actually build it into something that can meaningfully threaten them and the two-party system, and thus meaningfully start putting pressure on your government to actually really do something internationally as well. And Americans have really failed at that more so than any people in the world, which is, I think, like people say like the US is the belly of the beast, it's hard to do this. I don't think that's true at all. For one, until Trump, the US had the best free speech laws in the entire world, pretty much. You can say basically anything, that you could support Hamas, it doesn't matter. Like, that's a great environment for that sort of thing. It's a really good environment for that sort of thing, if anything. Obviously, the electoral college is fucked. That makes it a lot harder.
Everybody liked the stream.
But
like
I mean,
and donate.
Americans never even really tried to get to the steps before that, which is like the Senate and Congress, where those things are less bad. So I feel like there is absolutely a failure in the US for whatever reason. Obviously, people like, and fucking Twitter Marxists would tell you that's just the way it is. It's a bourgeois-controlled political system, whatever. But whatever the reason is, the US is the country, and the people of the US have the most power politically as a bloc of anyone in the world to get shit done for people in other countries. But paradoxically, they do nothing. And
by the way, I agree with everything that you said, and it is also a part of my vision. That's why I talked about class consciousness and instilling class consciousness, and also working on building movements outside of the party. And not like, community organizing, even though that can be valuable as well, but specifically labor unions and building a network of pressure that could actually, that actually creates, maybe even down the line, a third party. I'm not against this at all. And this is not something that I stand in opposition to, with the exception of what you just mentioned, the Green Party, obviously, because I think the Green Party they're jokesters who only come around every 4 years. And I mean, I think this is yet another point of, it's just another point of like not knowing the full scope of my perspective on
No,
this.
like I'm not here to argue with you. I'm not here to argue with a clip of you or something. I'm talking to
Yeah,
you
no, yeah,
about
exactly. And I'm telling you,
these
like,
things, and
I agree with you completely, and that's a part of
because
my
we're in the
framework.
in what I was responding to there was what you said about making the Democratic Party more class conscious specifically. I think
Yeah, I
just
think
throw
that
that out the
that's
window. Forget about it.
impossible. It's virtually impossible. That's why I said it would happen only in an idealistic society. But my goal is to use the platform that I have and expand on it so that I can once again move people away from reactionary politics and help them focus on a class first politics. And wherever that goes, if there is a mechanism that can push the Democratic Party into actual submission to class first politics, then that's great. If that doesn't work and there's an alternative, if there's an alternative third party out there, the only way that they will reach viability if it's backed by a strong labor movement that actually engages in labor militancy. And even then, I'm not entirely confident that like this can happen in the United States of America. But the reason why I speak on my perspective in the way that I do is because I'm speaking to Americans. And unfortunately, you got to make a lot of burger analogies if you want to get Americans on board. You have to give them hamburgers. Americans are either repulsed by what they perceive to be left politics. I'm not even talking about like revolutionary socialism. I'm talking straight up like basic bare minimum social democratic functions that are afforded by every other comparable OECD state is seen as like radical in this country. Socialism in and of itself is seen as a pejorative in this country. That's why people will say like Nancy Pelosi's the worst thing imaginable. She's a socialist. Like obviously that kind of stuff is really stupid, but I think it's indicative of the average American's perspective on this stuff, considering that, America won the Cold War and this is the imperial core. And therefore, most of our working class is just either completely oblivious to class politics in and of itself, and utterly confused by the notion of class consciousness, or they're incredibly angry at even the thought of it. Like they are repulsed by it, they get mad about it, which is why I have to temper my commentary on this front.
Well, I think you got to be careful with this notion of class politics in the US, and for a completely different reason to what you said as well, because there is an element to the present system where Americans benefit greatly from doing things to other countries, or they could at least. They in many ways they don't, because Americans are too dumb to even advocate for getting their own fair share from imperialism. But
I talk about that all the time too. Yeah.
There's two options here, which is like you can appeal to Americans as in like, I'm gonna get you a bigger share. That's Bernie Sanders. I'm gonna get you a bigger share of the spoils.
Yeah.
Or you could appeal to Americans in a way where like they perhaps see beyond national lines and understand themselves as part of a broader whole of the world. And I think if you like what you were talking about with unions, for example, the average American labor union is like it's basically like I wouldn't even call it a union, like in terms of like
Race calls
sort of
them,
things
Race
that you could
calls them
imagine.
pig unions, which is not like cop unions, but like corporate unions or unions that are completely servile to the interests of the Democratic Party under the AFL-CIO.
Not even just that. Like unions are themselves, in general, obviously narrowly focus on the interests of their members. So that's why you get things like the American Big Tent labor unions being like, oh, like let's get the Lockheed Martin float at a parade or whatever. A huge victory for the Lockheed Martin employees. 10% raise.
You're mixing and matching a couple different things, but yes, I know what you mean. Of course. Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying here is that what you were going on about there was about class politics in the USA. I need to get people on board with this idea that socialism isn't bad. I think you're looking far too much into the future with that rhetoric, because I'm not even thinking about fucking socialism right now, and people think I'm like a radical communist terrorist. Like, I'm not thinking about any of that shit right now. There's so many more immediate concerns that we have to work with, the systems that we have now. Ultimately, I have no faith in Americans of ever doing anything, unfortunately. Like, if you ask me what are your solutions, I don't have solutions for you, buddy. We have a limited amount of time before she hits the fan. I would have thought previously that something like what is happening in Gaza would cause like a Vietnam level like cultural like schism in the US. It hasn't actually caused it anywhere, not even in Europe where
I mean, it took
places
20
you know,
years. And also, there was direct involvement with Americans actually going there to fight, which I think is the reason why there was a lot more resistance. Americans are inherently very selfish people, and until they're drawn into the fight themselves in a way that is more meaningful with a draft, not just like the poverty draft, or not just necessarily like a bunch of people that want to get a communications degree for free going out there and getting their dicks blown off while defending some fucking poppy field in the Karengal Valley, but like literally a draft. Only then will selfish Americans actually get up to aggressively protest in a militant fashion in a way that would truly harm the overall interests of the American State Department.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. It's the whole thing. It's the whole reason why we're in the place where we're in. The US does not have a rival anymore who it needs to compete with that much in terms of geopolitics. China, I mean, I don't know what your stance is on China, but China doesn't do shit. China doesn't want to do shit. China just wants to mind its own business, and that is a huge problem, really. If China tried to do something meaningful regarding what's happening in Gaza, it would probably happen. They would be able to do something about it very easily.
I talked about this just yesterday. I 100% agree. There was like a fake TikTok of like Americans dropping in aid that actually killed Palestinians, ironically enough. But they were literally recycling the American aid being dropped into Gaza, but this time like saying China was doing it. And they were like, oh my God, how wonderful that China is dropping aid into Gaza. And one, that was fake. China didn't do that. But two, if China wanted to, it's Israel's second largest trading partner. They could literally fucking say, hey, we are going to bring in our military and our NGOs to distribute aid on the Gaza Strip. What is Israel going to do? Say no to that? They can't fucking do that.
China could do way fucking more than that. Like we saw with the tariff shit, how quickly Trump folded in the face of actual economic consequences from China. They could do something like that to the US if they wanted to. They could do it to Israel. Obviously, it would come at some sort of cost to themselves, but Trump would fold in 2 fucking seconds if China was like, hey, we're going to sanction Israel, or we're going to put tariffs on American goods or something like that. We're going to make your shit cost more. But China does not do that. Yeah. And the USSR was in a position, it wasn't in an economic position, but it was in like a military position and a geopolitical position where it could put a ton of pressure on. So now we have a situation in the world today where the US it's not totally uncontested, but it is way, way more uncontested than it ever has been before. And we're looking at that in Gaza right now, and I can't tell you what to do about it at all. I can tell you what individuals could do. It would get me banned, so I'm not going to. Yeah. But still, even if we all did that, I don't think it would change that much in the grand scheme of things.
I don't disagree with you on anything. And also, like I said, this is the exact same shit that I say on my stream for the most part. I'll take it one step further as far as like China's lack of interest in undermining American footholds in its own backyard in the Philippines. I feel like if China operated in the same way as like America did, or even the fucking USSR did for that matter, they could just like arm the Philippine Maoists instead of working with the Duterte government as they did to disarm them and to actively work against them. That's a real destabilizing force in the country. And China doesn't even use it. Instead, they're just doing water spraying operations with their Coast Guard while simultaneously trying to set up an ASEAN security partnership where the Philippines are the only fucking party that refuses to sign on. Why do they refuse to sign on? Because they're comfortable being a unsinkable aircraft carrier for the United States of America. So they like, I'm not, I live in America. You live in Argentina, as far as I know. So obviously, I'm not going to sit here and be like, Xi Jinping should do this, but that is my assessment. But clearly, whatever they're doing has worked so far, at least in terms of like positioning China as a global hegemonic power. But yes, I do recognize that they're being self-interested to a degree where no one seems to care about doing anything to stop the Nazi Israel government from conducting its live streamed child holocaust.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's just materialism in the end. China is extremely good at using the global system that the US set up, so why would they want to challenge it? That's how it is
Yeah.
with everything. The Arab states, half of them are US puppets, the other half, they would probably get annihilated if they tried to do anything uncoordinated without the US puppet states helping them. In many other cases, like I feel like Israel has become something of an inconvenience for its allies at this point, but they're sort of too far in to really do anything about it at this, like, it's been like 50, 60, 70 years of nothing but full support for Israel. So at this point, what are they going to do, especially given that they would have to be, like, the US would have to be the one to really pull the plug, and that's not going to fucking do it, is it? So, I mean, it's probably like the bleakest situation that I could imagine right now. Obviously, like, Americans theoretically, as a block of people, like average Americans, have a decent amount of power to challenge this, but they also themselves have no real reason, no real motivation for doing so, because ultimately, what you said about Vietnam probably rings true. It does not affect them that much. It affects some of them psychologically, and that is about it. They don't see any material consequences from it. There has not been like a massive adverse reaction that could turn them against it. Like, for example, like the IRA, for example, did a lot to like instill like fatigue in the British public on their government to try and look for some sort of solution to the troubles.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. There's nothing like it anywhere. Not at all.
Well, there's no situation historically that has existed where the captive population has been this thoroughly, at least in contemporary history that I can think of, where the captive population has been this thoroughly ethnically cleansed in broad daylight without any sort of material support to offer from other countries, right? Like, you have no Cuban example, you have no USSR example, and the role that they might have played in the ANC's efforts to resist against the apartheid structure in South Africa. And you certainly don't have American congresspersons doing arms trafficking to Hamas in the way that they did to the IRA. You had American conservative politicians of Irish background doing arms shipments to the IRA at a certain point. You could fundraise for the IRA in American bars, right? So very, very different set of circumstances here. And this coming also after the expanded surveillance state in the aftermath of the war on terror, with a shit ton of social conditioning that Americans totally signed off on, in terms of like Muslims and Arabs being worthy of only death and destruction, and they're all rapist, barbaric hordes. They're all ISIS. This kind of attitude is reflected broadly in American society, or in Western society in general. But that's the silver lining that I see, because in spite of all of that, I think there's only so much dead children that the average Americans can look at and go, this is completely unacceptable. Like, this is fucked up. Now, you're not wrong when you say there's not enough mobilization happening. People are not fucking shit up in an effort to make this costly, this undying allegiance to Israel costly. And you're not wrong on that. But I do think that, given how much the public sentiment has shifted in such a short period of time, even though it was incredibly costly in terms of the deaths of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians at this point, even though the numbers say, 63,000, I think that's a severe undercount. There is still, I think that there is still always, like, it's something that I will always push for, regardless of how hopeless I feel. is to mobilize
I mean,
Americans.
you can try your best. It is absolutely true that in an ideal world, like the number one way to fight this would be to mobilize people in the US, Europe, Australia, Canada, these
I agree.
places which are Israel's primary backers. And, many of us have mobilized, many people have tried to do stuff, protested and stuff. But clearly, these governments are immune to this sort of pressure at this point. They don't give a shit about it. Like it's because really almost nothing has really changed. Like Israel is literally under investigation for genocide at the ICJ, for example. They are, I would say at this point, they are probably actually going to it's going to be ruled against them. They're actually going to be found to have committed genocide in Gaza, and that is a huge fucking deal for a UN court because they've done nothing to convince the court that they aren't doing that, ever since the case started. But I mean, I might be wrong there because it is still a UN court. It's still a court that is ultimately run by the US and all of this, that even though pretend it isn't. But I mean, a lot of that is going to be in, all these people on the court are like very prominent judges who would not want to sully their name by making an intentionally stupid decision just in the name of politics. So we'll see what happens there. But my point is, like, when you have basically like both of the most important judicial bodies in international law with serious cases against Israel, and you also have like hundreds of thousands of people in the street protesting in almost every single one of the countries that is supporting Israel, in some cases like week after week, it's clear that something has shifted here, something. And like from how things were 30 to 40 years ago, especially. Yeah. And the number one thing that I can think of is somehow the internet has made it easier to ignore this shit. I can't exactly articulate how exactly, but it's obviously the most prominent change in the world aside from the fall of the Soviet Union, which is probably bigger, I forgot where I was going with that, actually. I'm a fucking moron.
Well,
but what I was gonna say was like, no, I don't know what I was gonna say.
Okay.
Well,
what I was going to say is
perception.
I recognize all of that, and part of why I try to communicate these issues in the way that I do, even though I say almost the exact same things that you have said so far in this conversation, not signing off on everything that you say off stream or on social media.
You disagree with?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
We can get to that, but we're having a productive conversation right now. But
we have to yell at each other. I have to speak. I have to play video clips over you like Ethan Klein did.
Yeah, I'll move into that in a second. But the reason why, for example, why did I broach the subject of Israel with Bernie on First Amendment grounds and the unlawful detention and possible deportation of Mahmoud Khalil? Because I understand Bernie Sanders' position. I don't agree with it, and I think it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous position to have. It's repulsive to maintain the idea that Israel has a right to defend itself. 19 months into Israel's.
Have you seen the videos of how Bernie talks to pro-Palestine protesters?
Yeah, I have. From like 2000 and there's like one from like
some of them are recent.
There's one that's more recent where people come up to him while he's walking, but he's an old curmudgeon. Really gets. Yeah,
I don't know if I would call it that. I think it's the topic.
You know what I think it is
that he knows he can't talk about.
You know what I think it is? I think it's what Bernie did to the average Democrat and the resentment that the average Democrat feels when Bernie is mentioned, because it shows their hollowed out nature of their politics. Pro-Palestinian protesters do to Bernie. I think he recognizes that deep down inside that those people are right and he's fucking wrong, and it pisses him off. Or maybe he just genuinely sees them. Yeah. Or he just genuinely sees them as a hurdle, and that he has the right mind on this. But what I will say is this: when you go to those rallies where he has 32,000 people showing up, right, in red states, blue states, all around the country, the people at those rallies are far closer to the truth on the issue of Israel and Palestine than Bernie Sanders himself is, which is why I see that as an opportunity to talk to those people there. I see that as I see Bernie Sanders as simply a person that is capable of bringing all of these people together. And with the exception of American foreign policy, which is very significant for someone like myself, obviously, I see Bernie as a uniting figure that can be used to build a more robust movement to actually get more Americans that are liberals on board with some of these other ideas. And I think imperialism plays a formative role in that politics, in the politics of the socialist left, of course, because I mean, the alternative argument to the labor aristocracy, like Americans recognizing their class position, but then also recognizing their class position on an international scale and how much they benefit from the unequal exchange globally. The alternative to that also is that every dollar spent on global war and the extraction of natural resources and all of that endless bounty that doesn't even translate to America's material conditions improving could be a dollar spent directly on fixing the roads, fixing the potholes. A dollar spent on a bomb could be spent on educational material for children, better schools, a better ISP system, more robust welfare states. So this is it's such an easy flip once you get Americans to that point, I think. And that's why I, regardless of my disagreements with Bernie Sanders, still hold some respect for him for being able to put this kind of politics in the forefront in a country like the United States of America, where I feel like before his 2016 run, positioning himself against like the establishment Democrats, it seemingly was a rudderless ship heading down the same, I guess, like necro state that we have become regardless of Bernie running. But at least now there is like more leftist organizing in the country, whether it be a more robust PSL movement, DSA, and even more unionization, even though our labor union participation rate is pretty fucking low.
Okay, let me grant. Let's just. I don't care to argue like a lot of the stuff that you said because honestly, I don't think it really matters. But
1 point to
okay,
Hasan.
the left movement in the U.S. is bigger now. Let's say that's the case. You have the PSL and all these other things. It looks really positive, bright for the future. Does it though? Has this changed anything? Has anything meaningfully happened as a result of this? If anything, things have probably gotten worse, I would say. So, maybe me and your idea that the US is the place where something meaningful could happen is completely, utterly, and just totally wrong in reality.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely a more pessimistic attitude, and there are definitely days where I feel that way, but I try not to succumb to that feeling and still push on, knowing full well that like, look, this movement is still marginal, is still tiny, but it grows every single day, and that's ultimately a good thing because who knows where we might be at. And at the end of the day, the least that the American left could do is like try to get concessions and to try to get America to step away to the best of our ability from the global stage when the decline of empire is setting in.
If you want to get concessions, the best thing to do is to immediately, each and every one of you, break with the Democratic Party already now and get to work. You've had decades to do it. It's probably too late, but why not try? Because what you're doing right now isn't doing anything anyway. So what's the difference? You want a great example?
I'm not
of
against that.
Precisely. I'm not saying you're not. I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying it doesn't have to be an argument. Everything doesn't have to be a yelling match.
Yeah, I think Bernie probably is the best possible option we had to do that too.
I mean, there was in 2016. I even thought like he might be something special. He might have been, if he had been elected, he might have been different. He had the balls back then to call out obvious shit like there was a coup in Bolivia, basic shit like that literally no one else in the US was saying.
Yeah.
stuff like that. And since then, he's just sort of become a shadow of himself. I mean, he's old as well.
Or
What
even
can you expect?
running as a major party candidate, running to
Yeah, like the
stop
Democrats
weapons
chose
transfers
to
to
lose rather
Israel.
than let him win. It's just a shame that after that, he didn't really do anything. Like, if anything, that experience turned him into more of an establishment guy than he was before. And that's just sad. But I mean, what I was going to say is that look at the Luigi Mangione thing recently. That is an issue that very directly affects many Americans. Many. That guy, I haven't seen polls on him, but I would assume that a majority of people who know who he is and what he did probably have a favorable opinion of him. But it still hasn't resulted in anything. Like, nothing has come of it at all. There was like a week period where like conservatives and liberals met together in parks and talked about how cool Luigi was and like how the healthcare system is really fucked up. And then everyone just went right back to what they were doing before, and nothing has fundamentally changed. Nothing has really fundamentally been inspired by what was an act that I would have thought would inspire that sort of thing in a country where people, or at least a time, maybe it's not even the US, maybe just the time period that we live in, where people were ripe to actually take risks to try and seek meaningful change. This isn't happening anymore. And it's not just the US where this isn't happening. I mean, I live in Argentina, as you so astutely said. People in Argentina just sort of do the same thing now. They just let shit happen. This is a poor country where people in general have less to lose, and they just sort of let themselves be experimented on like a pack of lab rats. There are people protesting against it. Those people are trying to do stuff, but most people are sort of happy to just sit back, relax, and see what's going to happen as someone tries to do to that country the same thing that has already been done to that country 50 times before and never worked in those times either.
I think part of that is also because of the treat economy. Like, Americans are pacified by the bountiful treats that they have at their disposal. So
yeah, I mean, and a part of those treats is the internet and social media as well.
Here's that too, for sure. That's also a treat. But what I was going to say is this, okay? I fear that if the only alternative is socialism or barbarism, right? I fear that without proper political education, without any class consciousness, without any mechanisms of pushback, without any sort of like structural organizing on the labor front, that when all of this crumbles inevitably, and I do think it will, all we will have is a fascist movement, and that's already kind of happening anyway. So that's my big fear, and that's what I try to. That's why I try to do everything in my power to, one, talk to international leftist movements, regardless of how social democratically aligned they are, or even people like Mélenchon, in an effort to try to get people to organize and move in the positive direction, even if change doesn't seem immediate.
Well, I think I'm not specifically accusing you here or anything, but if there's one thing that you could do with your content that might maybe help you use the position that you're in to do something that might actually matter, it is really actually start encouraging people to work outside of the Democratic Party and lead by example as well. Like, if you're going to talk to Bernie Sanders again, scream at him in the face. Scream at him. Scream. Use that one opportunity. Like, I mean, how many more chances you can have to talk to Bernie Sanders, really, right?
He's very old. He is very old.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think I'll
screaming at him.
Okay, I don't mean like literally scream at him, but I mean get combative. Put on a public spectacle of it.
I think,
you know,
well, see, that's what
give him a Kanye West. George Bush doesn't care about black people. Why not?
I think Ash Sarkar had a really productive conversation with Bernie that people use all the time, where she presented some of these questions because she had a longer, like, an opportunity to have a longer conversation with him. If
think
I'm
he
not
wouldn't have that with you? You're way bigger than her.
Yeah, I think because he's had that conversation once already, he's probably a
Scared.
little bit more worried. Or I mean, I don't think he wouldn't. I don't think he would run away from having that conversation with me either. It's just that I guess the planets haven't aligned. But yeah, no, I think that it's important to ask these questions. I don't think it's unproductive. That
I
was
mean,
never my.
I don't think it's that important to talk to him about Israel specifically, because obviously he's steadfast in that.
Well, I did bring
I
up
think the most
the third
important thing to
party
do
thing.
would be the third party thing, and
No, I did ask him
because
that.
did you?
Yeah, that was the other. Just those are my two main questions. Was like, what kind of initiatives does he want to? The three questions I have for Bernie and for AOC in general, but like especially for Bernie, were, do you think that we could build a robust third party movement in this country, and like what are the steps to take to
Obviously
do
not. I
so?
mean, they think
And
not.
then the other question was obviously going to be about like what are the direct actions that they want to engage with in terms of tackling the issue of like how this administration is using Israel as a way to undermine the First Amendment, because that is precisely what's happening. Like I am trying to frame it within. I'm trying to frame these questions or try to get people to ask these questions within the framework of American understanding, like recognizing the selfishness of the average American, recognizing American exceptionalism and American individualism. I think that those are areas that bear fruit. That's something that creates a lot of resentment for average Americans, because like other than that, they're like, okay, Israel's killing a bunch of Muslims over there. Sure, it seems kind of fucked up, but the way to get Americans, the way to engage Americans on this issue, the best possible way to do that is by one, talking about tax dollars being spent there because they're very selfish, and that's something that pisses them off. And two, talk about how this foreign nation has an incredible amount of power over American politics, and that the current administration is using defending Israel as a way to erode civil liberties that Americans enjoy. So that's what I'm trying to
Mm,
do.
I feel like if you appeal to people on the basis of their selfishness, then you're going to have to keep engaging with them on that basis.
No,
And
that's just to broach the conversation, to open up the door
okay, but
to
you broach the conversation, right? So it's kind of like you're intentionally approaching it from a position that you yourself don't really believe is the right way to do it. And I think that makes things more difficult for you down the line as well. Or at least maybe not you specifically, like, this is how you engage as a broader movement, like as a intentional strategy among many different people and groups, engaging people in this way. Like, hey, Israel is bad because we spend a ton of money on it and we don't get enough back in return. Okay, then what happens if there is
that's not what I
another
do.
instance of imperialism? Well, yeah, I know that's not what you mean, but that's sort of the message that you're saying to people when you're like, okay, we send these tax dollars to Israel. They could go to Medicare. In the USA, we could have universal health care instead of that, or whatever. Okay, it's that sort of thing. Like, you're appealing to the innate American selfishness that all of them are born with due to their innate Americanness. I agree with that part. So, like, you engage with them on that level, and I feel like you're starting from a position that makes it a lot more difficult for you to get through to them from there and get them onto like a right path where they might actually do something meaningful. And this is ultimately why you should give up on Americans and leave.
I'm not going to do that until.
You're gonna,
I mean,
you're
who
probably gonna
knows?
put
Who
you in
knows what'll
prison.
happen?
They're gonna
Who
make an
knows what'll
example out of you.
happen? If my former podcast co-host gets his wishes, I'll probably be in fucking jail. I'll probably be under the jail expeditiously.
They're gonna be
But
looking for you in the satellite images of Cesar.
yeah, he's hell bent on sending me to CCOT for sure. But I look, even the very fact that like the disgusting ways in which like many people here look at this issue from the framework of drama, like oh, grievances between content creators, like that shit destroys my soul. It's soul destroying. Seeing that and seeing all these like right wing reactionaries join in on the fun as well, after spending years and years of like saying anti-Semitic shit about Ethan and calling Gila Klein a horse, They've all now seemingly
She
united.
is a horse, though.
All of the
She's
okay.
a
See, this is
horse.
what I mean. I don't I don't do that. Okay, this is the
Maybe you should. Maybe you should be mean.
no. I don't. Well, first of all, I am mean, but not as
No,
mean
no, no, you're not.
as you are, and I don't think that's productive. Oh, you want to talk about disagreements? We're both communicators, and our goal is to get people on board. Right? That's your goal.
My goal is to make money.
Shut the fuck up.
It is.
Why don't you become transphobic and become like a fucking right winger?
Oh,
He
I
is.
have
I
the
saw that
niche.
on
I'm
Reddit.
expected to. It's like you have a nice bakery. You bake more bread. You don't branch out. Otherwise, you end up like Elon Musk with 5,000 different companies that all fucking blow.
Okay, but at a time when no one is fucking eating bread and everyone seemingly wants to eat donuts, if you already had the equipment, then you would make donuts. And I think you and I both know that there's a reason why you don't make donuts and you keep baking bread.
I don't know. I mean, I am honest about the things I say, and people for some reason want to see me say them to some degree. So it's like, okay, I already got it. I don't need to branch out. I don't need to start screeching
another
about
point
the
you
gangsters.
I think you and I both know where this line of questioning is heading, and that's why you're saying what you're saying.
Where is
But
it heading?
I think,
I
look,
wasn't thinking that far ahead.
okay,
I'm
well, I
Greek.
think
We don't think that far ahead. We don't
I think
have
you're
like
very
foresight.
smart, and I think you're very well read, and I really like a lot of the YouTube videos and the thought and effort that you put into crafting your YouTube essays. I think they're incredibly well sourced.
But
And
No,
what?
say thank you first.
but
Well,
Where's the
no,
but?
there is not even a but. It's just that I think sometimes, as someone who's also in
This
the
is a but.
same in the same sphere as you, okay, I think you sometimes get in your own way by presenting yourself a certain way, especially considering that our worldview is something that people, especially in the Western world, are very hostile towards. I think sometimes you get in your own way a little bit with the way you act. You act like a left book guy in a world
Okay,
where
like, can I have an example?
so many examples. I think you are you take a tone sometimes that is perhaps a little too mean for the uninitiated, that most likely shuts them off from actually seeing your commentary. You troll
I
a little
think a
too
lot
much.
of those people are already not open to being initiated.
See, I think
I
that's
think you have
defeatist.
too much faith.
I think that's defeatist.
Well, I don't think it's defeatist at all, because I think perhaps we can win without them. I think we do not need to appeal to like Burger American, Asmongold viewer, number 8,002 million. Asmongold, by the way, I think his audience is way more indicative of the average American than yours, sadly. But
for sure. Yes and
like
no.
I'm also not American. I'm not really trying to like appeal to a specific audience at all. I boot up my stream or whatever, or I write a script or whatever, and it's just whatever I feel like talking about, really. And this has sort of generated an audience, and I talk about these things out of interest more so than specifically like trying to appeal to, like, say, Westerners and get them to my side or whatever. I think in a lot of cases, like, given the fact that I am not actually that big of an internet personality, I'm very niche in reality. I think that exposing people to, like, even if it is by accident, like exposing people to like sort of uncompromising, just tell them what I really think about something, and like be a cunt about it sometimes, might be more effective than you give it credit for, because ultimately, when everyone else is walking on eggshells, maybe having someone who can cut through or is more willing to like just be blunt about it is needed sometimes.
For sure. I don't even think that you and I are in disagreement on any of the major points that you've brought up. I guess maybe the only one would be like the framework of like I work with like liberal Zionists or something, which we can talk about, but let's shelf that for a brief moment. The thing I'm thinking of is like, like they say, what I'm saying to you is so silly for me to say, because that's exactly what people say to me all the fucking time, right? But I don't think the people that say that to me
you can
are
throw anything you've heard about me, throw it at me. I love it. It's fun for me.
yeah. No,
Getting
I
into
know.
specifics is good, I feel like, because I've talked to him about it before, and I'm like, I heard this thing, and then he's like, well, this is what happened, and then I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I guess like some
What's
of the
the worst
stuff.
thing that someone has told you about me?
No, I know like the fucking the pedophile stuff is like fake. I know all that shit. I know that's not real. Like
Not a
the
pedophile.
tweets, the fake
That's
tweets.
an
Vindicated.
endangered species these days.
The fake first of all, pedophiles are not an endangered species. Holy fuck! There was
Oh, not a
apparently
No, I mean
pedophiles.
someone who's not a pedophile. I mean,
oh yeah. Okay.
Mm.
But this is also like somewhat of an unproductive conversation to have from my estimate, from the way I see
well,
it, because like
we're here to fundraise. We're not here to have productive conversations.
no, I
Ultimately,
know, but
whatever you
it's
say
still,
here will be
I don't want
productive.
to ever come across like I'm just like scolding you. Like do whatever the fuck you want to do. You know what I mean? Like I don't
You
care
can
ultimately
scold me
as
as
long as
much as you want.
no,
Go
because
for it.
I'm not scolding you. I just want to make that clear that because I think a lot of people get parasocial, even in your audience or in my audience as well. And that fucking annoys me to no end when people are like, BadEmpanada said this, or I'm sure my fans will come into your chat and be
No,
like,
I
fuck
mean,
you.
I hate it as well, where it's like, I don't know, like I was streaming the other day and people were like, yo, Hasan's talking about you. And I'm like, who fucking goaded him into doing that?
Yeah, it's just, it's annoying because like, you're not someone that I consider to be an ideological enemy at all. Which is why I don't even think it's like productive to be like, you did this, you did that, because it comes across as scoldy and silly, and then people will use that against you or use that against me in the future as well. But I guess like it's shit. Like I understand the point that you were making when you were doing the the Alexa Flood game on Steam that you were playing. Like I understand the broader point that you're making. This game was something that my chat wanted me to play a long ass time ago, like far before October 7, because I think it was out, or a different version of that game was out in the past, where it's flipping the script on Call of Duty, right? Because like it's totally fine when you play Call of Duty. Nobody even thinks it's political. They think it's apolitical unless there's a woman operator. But when you flip the script and you give the guns in the hands of like Hamas operatives or Palestinian resistance groups, then all of a sudden it's considered to be completely unacceptable and very dangerous. But like doing the doing the Al-Aqsa flood thing while also like looking for Gila Klein by name specifically, you have to
No,
understand
that didn't
is
happen.
going to
That part didn't happen. That I never mentioned her name.
Secretary.
Oh,
Ethan,
okay. That's
no,
what
let
that's
me
what I
explain what
was
happened there.
implied.
Okay. So Ethan he misconstrued a clip where I was in that game, and the AI in that game is extremely. It's either the AI is very good or it's very bad, and by that I mean I don't know if the designer intended for the opponents to be really stupid or not. So like my first experience in that game is like I walk up to two Israeli soldiers right next to them and they don't react, and I said, "Are these a bunch of Ethan Kleins on an Ozempic binge? Like, as in, are these fucking morons? Are they high on like drugs?" And
Yeah, I
Ethan Klein
understand.
took that
I
and he's
understand
like,
what you're trying
he
to
was
say.
saying this is me. He was saying this is me and simulating killing me. That's the sort of thing that he was referring to in that.
I think you can understand how that could be misconstrued, considering that the entire thing that you're engaging in is already considered like.
I think it was hilarious. You're laughing, don't lie.
Well,
No,
because
some
it's
parts
true,
are
but then
Has
it
that
gets
part
I see where you're
cleared
coming
up.
from. I'm just saying that like when you
talk to
do
each other.
that, people are going to, so many people that would otherwise like listen to the bountiful information that you are presenting on your normal YouTube essays are going to be like, this is a scary guy, and I don't even know if I can entertain this at all. And
I feel like that's like a hypothetical guy, though. Like you saying so many people. I'm like, yeah, maybe some, but like how many?
I
Really?
think, look, if someone is put off by me playing a video game where you kill IDF soldiers and they think about like, they see Ethan Klein saying some shit about me, like, oh, he tried to kill me in the video game or whatever, and they just
okay,
take it at
Ethan's
face
response
value and they
sounds
write
kind
me
of
off
funny,
forever.
but that's what I'm smiling
They just
about.
write me off forever because of that. Like, honestly, I don't think I had any chance of reaching those people. ever in the first place.
That's not true.
That
You're
sort
wrong.
of person is not going to sit through a Bad Empanada video essay.
No,
They will see
you're
one
wrong.
source
You're
on the screen
100%
and they
wrong
will
about that.
immediately tap out.
Here we go.
You're 100% wrong about that.
I think it's just true. Like, there's a lot of people who I think, like the average Asmongold viewer, for example, that's millions of people. That's a way bigger audience than yours, sadly. Why are you flexing, Noah? Jesus.
I was stretching.
I don't have guns to show off like you. It's not fair.
No, I don't.
But-
No, I've been doing push-ups for my stream, so it's okay.
That's impressive. Good
The,
work.
the,
You made
the
it.
average
Something you don't
Asmongold
do.
fan is either a fucking rabid neo-Nazi, as I found out earlier today, or the absolute dumbest person you've ever encountered. That's not who I'm talking about. And I'm not even saying like, oh, engage in like civility politics. I'm just saying that there's, I think, a broader audience that you absolutely could inform and potentially even radicalize if you were to soften your approach a little bit more. That's all I'm saying. But then again,
Maybe, but
that's why I always say, like, look,
I've also
Bad
grown
Empanada
a
and I
fucking
don't.
ton recently, so I'm
Well,
not
and
sure.
also,
Thank you,
I
thank
say, I always say, Bad Empanada and I don't disagree on our ultimate goals. We just disagree on methods, and that's it. So I'm just telling you,
Mhm.
like, that's I would
I think in
maybe not
response
do
to
some of
that
those
one
things.
specific point, I think when you water down your rhetoric in a way where you were kind of talking to people and advocating for things that you might not actually believe in yourself, just as a way of getting their foot in the door, you are sort of bringing people into wrong ideas and the things that you yourself know are wrong as well, in hopes that maybe later on you'll be able to get through to them with something that is right. And maybe that isn't the right way to go about things.
Not necessarily. I think you and I think you're I think you can make a much more coherent and clear point about how, like, I'm not even saying don't play the game at all. I'm simply saying that, like, you're not
Technically,
broaching.
the game isn't like actionable on YouTube. You're allowed to play this game totally.
No,
fine. Like,
I understand.
what happened is Ethan literally sent an email to his own personal YouTube rep and got the video taken down. That's what happened.
Yeah, he definitely is not the biggest free speech defender, as we've found out.
In general, though, I just want to say this, like, on stream, don't be afraid of him, because I can tell you he has been doing that with every single one of my videos, every single.
I'm not afraid of him at all.
Other
You're
people's
gonna pay him a
videos
legal
on,
fees,
not
right,
you,
Hasan?
not you. Just in general, to anyone watching who might make content about Ethan or
Hasan?
this. Ethan complains about your videos to his YouTube rep
Hasan?
every time. And the only time it's ever worked was that one video, and it just got taken down. I didn't face
Why do
any
you think that
consequences
video?
for it.
Why do you think that video worked?
Because, like, he made the argument that I was simulating violence against him. That was why. And
that's
and,
my
like,
point.
that was the one case where his YouTube rep was like, okay, we'll
Like,
give you this one, man.
Like, I think you'd be a beneficial voice to have on Twitch or even on other platforms, but there's a reason why you can't get unbanned on Twitch, even though
Honestly,
as you
I think
told-
your attachment to Twitch is erroneous. You should be on YouTube primarily. It's way bigger.
yeah, but that's a different subject. I mean,
It's also better for free speech. You can say Zionist here.
I know. Well, shouts out to the ADL for that one.
Okay, well, can I just pause here what you were saying to make that
But to be
argument
fair,
for you?
like they did withstand a fuck ton of pressure, and I wasn't banned. If we're being
YouTube can't
real,
be pressured. YouTube can't be pressured like that. That's the difference. YouTube is not vulnerable to that sort of pressure because YouTube is a way more international platform than Twitch is. Way more. It's like they have actual business operations in most countries in the world. They have their financial departments are more independent in different continents and stuff. So they are, if the ADL runs a campaign against you for YouTube to do something to you, YouTube will just ignore it. Twitch really can't. Twitch is in a position where they have to.
No, I know.
attention.
And then they run it up the chain of command too. I know that they pressure Amazon directly.
Yeah.
It's really gross. Like the shit that like Ethan and the sex pest community that he is like aligned with have done in terms of like mass brigading and email campaigns and like literally running it up the executive branch all the way to Amazon is completely and utterly psychotic.
To the point where border agents are now asking you Ethan Klein talking points.
Yeah, well, it is what it
They watch
is.
the content,
That's a byproduct of living in the United States of America. And I am aware of this issue, and I'm YouTube salivates at the prospect of me going there to live stream there. Trust me, I know.
Have
So,
they contacted you? Or you probably don't want to talk about that if they did.
well, I mean, yeah, of course, I talk to YouTube. I have a YouTube rep.
Fucking do it. Do it.
I have a
You would be way
YouTube
more
rep.
effective on YouTube. You would be
Um,
way more effective streaming on YouTube. Come on.
I mean, I think the community
You would
element
get
of Twitch
hundreds of
is
thousands of views on YouTube instead of just like 50,000 on
They
Twitch.
take
Come on.
videos views from us though, me and you. Hasan came over.
Okay.
that's true.
Maybe that's true. Yeah, okay, don't come to YouTube.
No.
Yeah.
Fuck off the Twitch.
Yeah, you gotta think about that. But where were we? What were we talking about? Oh, just like, we have disagreements here and there. I ultimately don't care what you do. I understand it. I have also a lot of people whose commentary I enjoy that say a lot more insane shit than you do, even.
That's the thing though. Like I have this image where I'm like a wanted international criminal, and to be honest, I find it really funny. So I kind of
No, it's because you have a old left book ass attitude. You're like Mr. Troop Exploder. You know what I mean?
What is
And
left
that's
book?
Troop Exploder.
Left book is just
I've
like
only ever heard that
old
term used
comments
by
on
Caleb
Facebook.
Morton.
Old communists on Facebook and Facebook groups would just like post the type of shit that you post.
Well, I mean, do you think that U.S. troops should be a protected class who, like, actually an interesting thing about YouTube rules is you're allowed to call for the deaths of soldiers.
Yeah, you can't do that in Twitch either. Twitch, that's part of the reason why I got banned initially with the 9/11 stuff. It wasn't because I said America deserved 9/11. It's because I shit on Dan Crenshaw, who's a veteran and therefore was a member of a protected class.
Oh,
Isn't that crazy? A fucking American congressperson who was advocating to, at the time, continue giving weapons to Saudi Arabia, which that's the other side of this conversation that's so funny, because that was me yelling at Dan Crenshaw because he was telling Joe Rogan, like, we got to keep giving weapons to fucking Saudi Arabia, actually, because these guys, these terrorists, they hate us because they ain't us. And I was like, bro, these are the guys that did fucking 9/11, and you're advocating to give them weapons that end up in the hands of Al Qaeda in Yemen, fighting against the fucking Ansar Allah, the Houthis. So it was a mind-boggling situation.
So was that the America did 9/11 context? Was that the America deserved 9/11 context?
Yeah. Yeah, that was the
context. Makes more
context.
sense now. Like you were saying they caused it because they gave the Saudis the weapons, basically.
No, it was just basic blowback. Like, that's what I was saying. Not that Americans deserve to die in the fucking
Who do you think
Twin
did
Towers.
9/11?
What?
Who do you think did 9/11?
A little bit here, a little bit there.
I have a button.
I think it's extremely disrespectful to imply that to imply that Al Qaeda and Osama bin Laden didn't do 9/11. I feel like it's taking a lot of credit away from them in their operation.
Oh, no, I think that. Well, I think it's a joint partnership. I don't think you get to fucking work inside. I don't think you get to literally be a known CIA operative and also get to learn how to fucking fly a plane and tell your flight instructor you don't need to learn how to fucking land the plane. And then also then end up doing 9/11 without a little bit of government oversight or lack thereof, I guess.
Oh, like when you put it that way, the world like from before is totally unthinkable. Like I would like get black bagged if I tried to enter the US. Probably it's probably been like that for like the last 5 years.
No,
I mean not that I want to. That's the best thing about it is like people make fun of me.
You would get.
I think you'd get arrested if you tried to enter the US. It's like, why would I want to enter the US? Do you guys think you're like the place that every single person wants to go to? Why would I want to go there?
So does my family now, so it's a
Oh,
little bit harder.
yeah. I'm talking about me.
Yeah. No, I understand.
People in the US think that.
Are you a Cypriot, by the way?
Are you asking this because of Drew Pavlu?
Are you a Cypriot Australian?
As far as I know, no.
What is your?
I don't know much about my
background?
Greek family history.
What's your ethnic background?
Greek something. Why are you asking?
What kind of Greek?
Greek Italian.
Oh, what? No. Which islands?
As far as I know, Anatolia and then Athens.
Okay. So you're not
What are you
Cypriot,
asking?
like Drew
Yeah, you know
Pavlov.
what your people did to us in Anatolia? What did you do over
Am I
there?
unlocking epigenetic memories right now?
Yeah, right. I have intergenerational trauma, just like the Israelis. That's why they get to do genocide. So I get to do genocide too, and you're Turkish, so you should be
You
careful.
should come to America.
Yeah. I know the reason why I say this is because like you got two sides of the same coin. You got the Drew Pavlov and you got BadEmpanada.
Drew Pablo is hilarious by accident. That's the problem. He thinks he's funny, like not by accident, and I can't let that stand.
Yeah, no, he's repulsive. He's disgusting.
I don't know. You've been over
he
this
gets
story
full
on your
abuse,
stream,
though.
haven't you? Is it worth going over it again for the
What,
people who
his
don't
dad
know?
yelling at
Like
him?
the Drew Pablo origin story? No, not that. The Drew Pablo origin story. Like he was like a pathetic. Like he actually contacted me 4 or 5 years ago. Like, hey man, I really like your videos. Blah blah blah. He was trying to frame himself as like a left critic of China during the Hong Kong protest era, and I was actually like I wasn't like against the protest. I was like sort of, let them protest. Why not? There's no need to do this. The Chinese system is strong enough to withstand protests. You shouldn't react in this way. Was my sort of criticism of it. And Drew Pavlov saw me as like an ally because of that, which disgusts me. And he started DMing me. And then like within a couple of years of that, the anti-China grift, when that's your whole personality, inevitably leads to just the far right, basically. Because where else is that going to go when that's the only facet of your personality? Like the big Western enemy. I'm against that.
Firebomb the Chinese embassy or something?
Well, allegedly, he was in the UK. I don't know why he was in the UK for some reason, and a bomb threat was called in the Chinese embassy from his email, and he got arrested for that. And then I don't know what happened after that, but from his email.
How do you get out of that? Damn, the Atlantic Council has incredible connections.
So Drew Pablo is someone who has, to be clear, Drew Pablo is the one who originated the claim that I was arrested for like child rape. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you here is with the amount of charitability that someone like that deserves. Drew Pablo was arrested because he's the one who called in the bomb threat, and he was planning to bomb the Chinese embassy, but the Met Police heroically thwarted his plan. So Drew Pablo is a terrorist. Thank you, Met Police. They didn't even need guns to do it. They were unarmed there.
Yeah. He would have, they're horrible. They have a horrible track record of stopping pedophilia and sexual assault. But apparently, this one guy was so incompetent in his in his actions that they were able to make short work of it. How did he get away with it? This is what I'm saying. Like,
there's actually there's multiple videos and images of Drew Pablo actually being arrested that I could easily work with if I was as petty as he.
Oh, that's true. I'm surprised that you don't do that. But in any case, I mean, he's not
bigger now. Like he's the most ignorable guy in the world. He's
that's true. He's gonna nut that we just talked about him. He's
gonna do an entire stream about this. It's gonna be 8 hours long.
Yeah.
Like the last time I heard about Drew Pablo was a couple of weeks ago. Hey Drew, like he's the sort of streamer who is so inexperienced and like amateur in what he does that he opens random links from his chat and it's just porn all the time. Every stream, it's the same thing.
No way.
Like with Mia Khalifa, isn't that what happened?
Honestly, I appreciate having him around. It's so funny.
Yeah. Oh,
Tom and Jerry, they call you too.
Here's one point of contention. React-gate. The reason why I had a blockade implemented on BadEmpanada videos for the longest time was because you were one of the YouTubers that was like, fuck this guy. This guy is stealing other people's labor. How dare he fucking do this? And maybe I'm misremembering, but I think that's what you said initially. So I was like, I'm never gonna watch this fucking dude's videos. Like I was watching your videos at the time.
Do you
but
actually want to talk about the React-gate stuff? Because it might go bad for you.
Ooh. No. I think
the issue of React content. When you look at React content, do you think has been a positive? Look at Asmongold. This beast that we have, this dragon. Okay, it's a filthy fucking dragon covered in cockroaches and
stinky
shit.
dragon.
But it's still a dragon. That's because of React content.
I think
Like,
I think that's fair for sure. You're not wrong. I think that like it's the lowest form of content for sure, where you just like sit there and you go, yeah,
I mean, I'm
base
not even
over and
talking
over again.
specifically about you. Like, maybe I did. Like, I think the reason I responded to you on that is because you were arguing with people who use you as an example of it, and the arguments that you were making weren't that great. Like, but when I react to someone, it benefits them. For example, is an argument that I remember you making, which
Yeah,
can be true. Okay,
we have
sometimes.
someone here that can speak to it. Not to like
Getting
pull you
reacted
in,
to?
Noah.
No, it's
You were
okay.
at the fault of this.
I was
Well, when
treating
people react to my videos, what usually happens is I gain, 100
it's marginal.
200 subscribers. I gain like a few thousand views maybe, and that's really it. And the people who watched, who especially like on Twitch, I don't really care. I don't care if someone reacts on Twitch, but if you react and you actually upload the clip, it should be enough of like a criticism or like so that you add enough to it that at least
Transformative.
constitutes
constitutes legal fair use. Asmongold does not do that, for example. Like maybe you're a bad example of this. Maybe not the
Yeah,
best example of
I
this because
react
you do
mostly
actually
to
talk about
political
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, there's always something
and
to criticize when it's political.
yeah, I react either mostly to political stuff, or if it's like bullshit content, like I still try to make the most of it. But I think here this is a Noah exclusive, okay? I'm about to say something that I don't think I've ever said in it on YouTube or in public even.
I got the button
I
ready.
think that the initial response, the first ever React Gate, when people were getting mad at me because like I would have the chair on, and while the videos are playing, totally fucking fair and valid. And for the past multiple years, that's not happened on my broadcast. Like there are instances where I get up to pee, but it's usually during a video that's
Yeah.
playing that's like from a friend or from news and commentary, and it's only for like 30 seconds to a minute.
Yeah, I mean, the examples that I did see them use of you, like there was one, like the initial video that I think started that thing. I don't remember who it was, but you reacted to his video and you just
JXE
sort of
maybe?
left. And it wasn't a
Yeah.
political video. It was like
Yeah,
a
it wasn't.
fun,
Yeah,
dumb
yeah.
little video. And I think his point was valid in
Yeah,
that
and
your
I
react to that
apologize.
video
By the way,
wasn't
that's the
good.
other thing. I literally apologized to that person instantly, and then they basically like quintupled down and like did this like 8-hour broadcast with a bunch of like random fucking slop tuber commentary people, and I was like, what the fuck? I think this guy's just like trying to farm drama out of this. But yeah, I mean, that person actually, I don't know what their preferred pronouns are, but that person was totally valid, and I immediately apologized to them, which got lost in the sauce. And then after I saw the 8-hour back and forth, I was like, oh, this is just like a farmer.
Well, maybe
But
it was in the end. Maybe that person
I think
was
that
like
person
that.
was a
But
farmer. I
I
don't know
think
what their
ultimately, regardless of them or any other shitty people who were on their side, like you kind of see it seem like to me like you were on the wrong side of that because of I don't know, you seem really hostile to, maybe it's because you saw that and I was getting after that, but like you seem pretty hostile to it initially. I don't know, maybe it sounds like you've thought about it more since then and sort of realized that
I think
even
there were a
even if
bunch of
that
stuff
guy
that
was
I
a
did.
shithead, they were kind of right, at least
There were
initially.
there was a bunch of stuff that I did initially that I changed. I don't do anymore. Like I don't cook food while on stream. Like I order. Like there's a bunch of stuff that I used to do that I don't do anymore. That in an effort to like reduce the chair time. The thing that I was frustrated by is that people were just like saying that all I do is just like put the chair on and fuck off.
Mhm.
And that was annoying to me because it's like before the Reactgate shit, I was known for being a person who paused all the time and like added way too much information to the fucking video that like people lost the plot of the video, so much so that casually explained had like a very famous viral meme about it where he goes, thanks for unpausing the video, Hasan, knowing that I was going to react to it. And very quickly that like flipped, that attitude flipped, and everybody basically turned into like, there are still people who think that I just sit there and play YouTube videos and like the fuck off. Like they unironically think like there's just a chair for an hour for like a 15-minute YouTube video.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure like in your case, you're right. It's just that in that one specific instance, that guy did have a point.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that negatively polarized you a bit to the point where like you saw me talking about it and you were like, fuck this guy, whatever. But I think fundamentally a lot of the people who expanded on that, even though some of them are cunts, like Dark Viper AU, he hates you. He's a huge cunt. But his video series on React content, he's right. He's really right about it. Like
I think
I don't think
he's
you
a really
and
interesting
I don't
guy.
think I don't yeah, he's a weirdo. I mean, he's weirder than me, okay? Weirder than me.
Yeah, what's
But
up with the Australians?
yeah, what's going on down there? What a shithole.
Yeah.
But like
They're either fucking Maoists or the most insane YouTubers I've ever encountered.
yeah, what I was gonna say is just like I don't think your content is like the level like React content is totally fine as long as the person reacting or criticizing or whatever actually adds like something to the video that is beyond just making a face in the corner like Asmongold does,
Yeah.
and then re-uploading the video and getting the money off it. And that's basically the
perfectly
whole
fair.
message of it. Like Dark Vibe AU has an entire video series where he talked about that. I think he uses you as an example in that too much and unfairly, but I mean, it is what it is. It doesn't really take that far away.
He compared it to
rape.
rape.
I know.
Oh yeah.
That was a bit much, but ultimately, I didn't like when people focus on one little thing about the argument to discredit the entire argument. Because that guy made like 10-hour long video series about it, and everyone just focused on that one little thing. And
It was
I
a
feel
little
like
bit of
it's
a crazy
unfair.
argument, I think.
Yeah, it's a crazy argument. It's a crazy argument, but it's not. It's it's a dumb way to make his point. Ultimately,
Yeah,
he's
no,
he's still ultimately in the right in the broad strokes.
Yeah, I also, like I said, I've taken the notes from all of the people that shit on me for years over that, which is part of the reason why you don't really hear too much about people saying that I'm like reacting unfairly or whatever. I don't even I rarely ever react to like an unknown channel anyway nowadays, and it's mostly just like news and commentary that I'm adding additional commentary over. But that's just something that I wanted to explain, because I was like, that was the initial reason why there was a blockade on BadEmpanada videos on the broadcast, because I heard you were like,
yeah, I mean, I've said that before as well. Like, it's so insignificant. Like, it's Ethan keeps bringing that up. Like, oh my god, you said you wouldn't watch BadEmpanada, and you did. Like, okay, to be clear, even if you didn't used to watch me for the reason that he tries to claim, like he tries to claim you said I was anti-Semitic or something. Obviously, that never happened. But even if that was the case, it's so insignificant. Like, what a ridiculous talking point. Like, you watch a YouTuber who I don't like. How dare you? But the actual reality of it is like it was basically a dumb little discussion about something that compared to the genocide in Gaza doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
And for him to keep bringing it up, it's just so crazy.
I want to bury the hatchet. I want to bury the hatchet with what's his face, the Aussie guy that you were, Dark Viper, and also JXC.
You should invite him on. I mean, he's a smart guy. He's a weirdo, but he's a smart guy.
Yeah, I don't know. He's probably he's a liberal though, I assume, right? Or maybe like a labor guy or something.
He's like a radical liberal, I would say. He's like a social democrat. He mostly just hates dumb right wingers, and I mean that's generally good enough for a YouTuber.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, I respect that. That's fine. That's a good entry point into the conversation.
You should get him to watch this and get him to come on your stream, get some content.
Yeah, no, I don't really care
Do a
about
fundraiser
that,
like ours. We just hit 300K. Just so you're aware.
Doesn't that mean you have to like shave your mustache or something?
Yeah, 300 is, I think.
I can't believe that.
275 was shaved mustache. 300 is, I don't even remember.
How much is that? I haven't been looking at the stream because
268 was the main one, and then there's two others. One of them's 12,000. One of them's about 20,000. So added together, that's somebody do that. I think it's 300.
BadEmpanada is profitable. They're definitely not here for Hasan. Don't tell me otherwise.
Of course not.
It's a controversial figure, man.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, what do you think about the fact that Ethan Klein made 30 minutes of your debate, like, to be just asking you random questions about me?
Yeah, I mean, somewhat expected, I guess. I assume that he did not want. I mean, it was very clear that he did not want to talk about like the main point of contention, which was that he was doing propaganda at the behest of Israel and also trying to deplatform pro-Palestinian advocates, which is what he was doing and has been continuously doing. It was very interesting that he conceded. What?
A staunch advocate for the Palestinian people.
Yeah, no, a stalwart ally, as he said. I still haven't even watched the second half. I know you made a reaction video that was like,
you should,
how long?
Once I'm gone, you should stay on here and do it here. On no stream.
How long was your? Well, I have to pee and go to sleep, but
No, you don't.
I'm planning on reheating the second part of it. But how long was your reaction to YouTube to context nuke?
I don't know if you've watched on your stream. I don't think you watched like the main one that I did, but it was like 4 hours long. And I mean, that's long, but a 4 hour long response to an hour and a half video is extremely short. That's really short.
Because mine on the first hour, because I ended it at like 1 hour. Mine was 8 hours long. Because
I mean, it's also because like
you didn't do.
it's,
I
it's
assume
about
you didn't.
I skipped over the personal stuff about you. I assume you have to deal with that, so it makes it way longer.
It's not even just that. It was also 8 hours and 51 minutes long. Sorry, 9 hours long. The reason why mine took much longer than yours is also not only did I, dismantle a bunch of the silly ahistorical approaches that he made, but I also would come in with like additional context. So I would just like add, because it was a bunch of clips that were like 15 seconds long mysteriously. So I would just like expand the clips a little bit, like go directly to where he got the clip from, expand it a little bit, and show that the context actually was like virtually the exact opposite of the thing that he was presenting.
That's also the average thing with the average anti-you video that I've watched from these right-wingers. And yeah, Ethan's a right-winger, obviously. Like the main way that they argue is they just play a clip of you, and then I watch the clip, it finishes, and they don't actually tell you what's wrong with it.
Yeah,
and they just do that over and over again. Ethan did that a lot. Like most of the clips that he played of you were like 3 seconds long. This the obviously the worst one was like, doesn't matter if rape happened on October 7th, and what you were saying is completely different to what he implied as. And now like you have fucking like Barry Weiss's media outlet writing articles about you saying that and sourcing the Destiny wiki.
Yeah.
Interesting, right?
It is. I mean, I guess it's not that interesting. It just, I think it shows that there is a real devolution of like the Hasbro machine, because like in the previous years, I think that it would be like real journalists at the New York Times writing that article, and they wouldn't be fucking sourcing it off of like a sex criminals Wikipedia page made by like autistic stalkers online. So I think on that front, I think it's like the only places that have any sort of motion on this stuff is like the New York Post, the Daily Mail, and like Free Press. Like these are Hasbro rags, right? So they don't like that in and of itself, I think, shows that like discourse around this issue has changed quite a bit as well.
It has. It really has. The only thing is that like I totally agree with you on that. Like I feel like Israel's PR has gotten so bad in just the last year and a half that it's never going to be able to recover. But on the flip side, I have as of yet not seen any fruit from that fact. It's like people are aware, people know, and nothing has changed.
I understand. I know. The other, what else was I going to say? There was another thing that I was talking about the context nuke, or at least like the debate, the back and forth. Oh, I found it really cowardly that he just like immediately conceded on the main point of contention to be like, oh, it's a genocide. And I know he doesn't believe that at all. Because like it doesn't make sense. If he believes that, then like so you're like, what I was trying to draw home was the argument that I was trying to present is like, okay, so if you fucking believe it's a genocide, like why are you spending all of your time talking about like my bleach sword that you have decided is the most anti-Semitic thing that anyone could ever do? I mean,
Ethan is doing like the internet equivalent of trying to start the proletarian revolution in Britain in 1944. It makes no fucking sense. Like it's that's the sort of thing that you would do if you want the Nazis to win, you know? And all he's doing is talking about how bad pro-Palestine people are. Like he's a stalwart advocate for the Palestinian people. You know, he thinks there's a genocide, and then all he does is talk about how people who also think there's a genocide and who also conceive of themselves as stalwart advocates of the Palestinian people are all extremely bad. And also, Israel is a great place. I mean, no, he doesn't believe the shit that he says about himself, obviously.
Yeah, and obviously, like, I mean, in an effort to like basically present himself as like intellectually consistent, I got him to concede that his wife was a terrorist. So like the things that
That's so insane.
I think ultimately it doesn't matter though. My point is, as you brought up Asmongold and as you brought up Ethan Klein as well, like a lot of people don't give a single shred of a shit about real issues and trying to make an impact and go out and protest and go out and apply pressure to their governments. A lot of people don't give a shit about organizing. A lot of people don't even care about learning about the historical relevance of certain militant movements or understanding like resistance against settler colonial enterprise. And why it's a necessity in an academic context. And even when you try to talk about the nuances of these sorts of things, especially within an 8-hour live stream broadcast, especially when you do also crack jokes along the side, people will just like clip you and to be like there's one thing I saw like from the context news where he was like, he said, I had like an 8-hour conversation with Nick Pollum. He doesn't know anything. It was very instructive about like a refresher of like all the things that have happened since October 7. He took a clip of that where I said like, I don't have a problem with Hezbollah. And that conversation was specifically about like with relation to the resistance that Hezbollah is engaged in against Israel. And you can see it in the clip. But he fucking clipped it to be like Hasan Nasrallah and I don't have a problem with Hezbollah. Like this is really fucked up that he's saying that without even ever providing an argument as to why that's fucked up that I'm saying that. So it's both disingenuous in his framing, and it's also
That's the thing.
There's no counter.
Like
there's no counter to it.
Yeah, I mean, when you come from like the default status quo position of these guys are terrorists, you have the benefit of not having to actually argue for why that is. They just are. That's the way these people operate, and like. I'd love to fucking debate any of these slub tubers, but they don't want to. I'd relish in that. I've challenged all of them. They are all afraid. They're all
Asmongold refuses to
scared.
talk to me now. He won't. He just like he uses me as like the public enemy on his as like the leftist soy woke guy.
I don't even understand how that fucking happened. This is a guy who was like a shit World of Warcraft player. And now he's talking about like deporting people and how great it is that they get deported. Where did that happen? He lives in like the fucking woods. What does he care? What the fuck is happening?
Because he has 50,000 people watching him every day, and all he has to do is click play and go, yeah, based, and that's it.
Do you know about like his history? Like, has he gained viewers from doing this shit? I assume he has.
Yeah,
because he used to be like a video gamer. What the fuck happened?
Yeah, he. I think like there's ups and downs in the streaming space. But I think like he saw that he was getting a lot more prominence doing this, like a lot more relevance doing this, because he doesn't give a fuck about money. He lives in shit. Like he lives in filth. He lives in his own fucking rot. Like that's not even.
Fell down from
I'm not even exaggerating when I say this. It's like a fucking insane thing.
It is actually weird to have that much money and then not do anything with it.
Yeah, no, it's like way weirder than fucking. I always used to get mad at Berkshire Hathaway, the guy that owns Berkshire Hathaway.
It's weirder than Ethan Klein suing everyone.
It's what? Is weirder than what?
It's weirder than Ethan Klein using his money to just sue everyone.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's also gross in a different way, but I think Asmongold wanted to. He wanted to sue me as well. I think Asmon did or something. I heard these guys love. They're such Amerifats. They love immediately hitting the fucking litigation button.
It wouldn't even hurt you. Like you would just pay someone to do all the work for you, and ultimately, like both sides, like everyone involved is rich, so it's like it wouldn't do anything to either of you. What's the fucking point?
Yeah, I think it. I have become, unfortunately, like a beacon of what it is to be left online, all the way from like being pro-Democratic Party, all the way to like Gary radical. Revolutionary socialist policies.
People who like have learned that making videos about you gets them more views than normal, and there are so fucking many of them.
Yeah,
like I get
it's a never-ending cycle because like
videos.
Yeah, and that's literally what it is. And unfortunately, because the average person's interest in political affairs is resembling someone with the brain of a walnut, they eat that shit. They eat that garbage and they believe it. Like
how sad. Everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've long lost faith in humanity if it's not obvious. So I'm sadly not
You are a
super
bit of a nihilist.
surprised by any of this. Am I a nihilist?
I
I
think
think
so.
the human race is superior. We should all unite and go to the
Sworn.
stars like in Star Trek. The human race is superior to all the other races on Earth, like the dogs,
Oh
not the
yeah,
cats.
yeah.
I'm
Got
the
you.
dogs. I'm a human supremacist. Yeah, you can't say this shit on YouTube. You're gonna get like negative comments from someone like anti species people, and they're gonna be very angry at you. Um, but
Vegans.
like I think ultimately the internet and social media has been weaponized by like the whole concept. Like this is so far away from what you're just talking about, but it's still relevant. Like I think social media very much in a way democratized the dissemination of knowledge, which is why we can see the Gaza genocide, for example. But at the same time, it created like this massive arena that every single person in the world is always constantly using. Not every single person, but most people always constantly using, and it makes it so much easier to reach them with shit that turns them into a horrible person. And that second option is winning out over the first one, ultimately, which is how we get like literal beasts like Asmongold.
Yeah. The state of affairs is certainly dire, but I think like one of the things that always gives me hope, like it's hard being optimistic around you because you have such a dire outlook, which is crazy because people say that about me all the time. But um, I think like I think solidarity is a fantastic way to reinstill some sense of confidence in yourself and in your fellow man. Like the conversation I had with Jean-Luc Mélenchon in France was incredible. Like it's so eye opening to see someone who I might not fully agree with in terms of his worldview, but like it's like seeing a major politician that was the leader of the Popular Front and it was still undermined by Macron, but seeing someone like that have such similar opinions to myself, it really is galvanizing. Like I felt awesome about that. Like it was just it's a demonstration of solidarity, and I think that that's something that we shouldn't lose sight of. Maybe it's difficult for you, BadEmpanada, because you live in fucking the ashes of the former Peronist Argentina that is now controlled by a fucking
It's not all
literal
lost. I mean,
pedophile anime character dressing psychopath.
we can talk about that as well. That's
And the
interesting.
IMF's very own dog,
I mean, you
Javier
look at
Milei.
Melanchon in Latin America, though. There's 20 Melanchons, so there's that at
No, I
least.
know.
Like, Latin America ultimately, in terms of domestic politics, is fortunate somehow, which is very weird, given that the USA killed all of the good politicians in the 70s and the 80s. That's why we ended up with Lula. I'm not going to elaborate, but like Latin America is like it's kind of a beacon in the darkness of the
You'd be
world,
begging for Lula
but
right
it's
now
also not
instead of
very powerful. It's also geopolitically
Milei.
irrelevant. I mean, Milei is an exception. Milei is on the continent. He's largely an exception. He might inspire people like him, but Argentine politics, especially in the last 20, 30 years, have not been very comparable to that of other countries in Latin America because the Peronists are so weird. And everything in Argentina is dictated by anti-Peronism, which is weird because Peronists aren't that radical, but you would think they are, given the way they talk about them. So that's just very different. But you know, in Latin America, not just from the pink tide, but even now, like the Overton window is very different to in other places. At least in South America, Mexico, not so much. It's certainly not Central America right now. So there's that at least. Like, but yeah, Mélenchon, he's obviously like in French electoral politics, he's very good compared to the American guys. He's like God. But still, like even with, it's so weird, right? That even with someone like that in France, like if he was in power in France, I would have faith. And he's someone who's almost won elections before. You know, he's almost won actual elections. if he was in power, I would believe that he would try to do something for Palestine and stuff like that, you know.
Oh yeah.
But even with someone like that so close to power in France, they still do so little. So I don't know. I think in a way, like
No,
you think I'm a nihilist. I
I
don't
think
think
his
I'm a
politics.
nihilist. I think right now I'm a realist. I used
I
to be
think
a
his
lot more
politics have
optimistic.
informed Macron even. Like Macron right now
Yeah.
is domestically so fucking unpopular that he has tried to reposition himself as this like guy that's going to have an impact on the global stage. And of course, on the one side, he's doing this like militant posturing against Russia, saying that he's going to send French troops into Ukraine, stuff like that. But also, even on the Gaza side, he has gotten his notes from the Mélenchon side that previously would have been considered radical, but he's like saying he is. I would say out of all the major leaders in Europe, he is one of the, with the exception of like Spain or Ireland, Macron, surprisingly enough, is one of the more, I guess, radical on the issue of Gaza.
Yeah, he definitely has been. I mean, he's not great still. Like the French government has been so contradictory.
Yeah,
Like Macron will say one thing and then his foreign minister will say another. But still, yeah, you're right. Like they're definitely the third best in Europe on the matter. But yeah, I mean, certainly like his Mélenchon's ideas have certainly had some level of influence on Macron trying to win back popularity. Especially given that the only reason that like he's still there is because he had to make a deal with the devil to avoid losing. Like what was that, like a year and a half ago now? But like yeah, I mean, it just like like this. We got to this whole thing because it was like I'm a nihilist. I'm not naturally a nihilist. Okay, I have gotten my outlook has gotten
Materialist
less and less
nihilist.
rosy as time. My outlook has gotten less and less rosy as time has gone by. If you
Okay,
watch like videos that I made 5 years ago, like I made a video like the world needs Bernard Sanders. What a fucking moron I was. What an
You
idiot.
smiled
I don't
a
think you
lot.
were wrong to make that assessment. I think you were right.
Maybe
I
I
think
wasn't wrong.
at the
Yeah,
time,
but
I
I
think
mean,
it was a
okay, maybe
necessity.
I wasn't a moron. Maybe I was right at the time. But now it's like we're here 5 years later and everything's only gotten worse. It's so fucking funny that Trump is the president of the US again. I'm sorry. That's so it's especially funny because it's like Trump now is what they said Trump was last time. He's doing all the shit they were fear mongering he was going to do. For me, last time Trump was like a regular Republican who didn't know how to say the right things properly. Like he was way too unfiltered. Now Trump is what they were saying Trump was before. He's totally disconnected from American politics before. Well, he's not totally disconnected, but he's very different. He's like just
Yeah, he's
not
on
pretending to give a shit about the Constitution and stuff like that.
yeah, he's on a vengeance arc.
Yeah,
He's
so it's like
but
I think that's like
they still fucked him up though, because like he's been on this tariffs tip for since like the 80s. And when he started, in the words of Felix Biederman, molesting the money, he got that boss call from Jamie Dimon and he backed away. Like I think that played a big role in him not even trying to completely undermine global trade in a way that America had envisioned, which was so stupid. I mean, it was so incredibly stupid of him to do that, especially without like a robust manufacturing base. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? But you know,
yeah, I mean it's totally it's nonsensical. Even if there is some sort of reason between his economic strategy, like trade strategy, it's a stupid reason. But I just think things have gotten like bad enough to the point where a little bit of pessimism is certainly warranted. And a lot of my pessimism, though I don't say it a lot, it comes from climate change because we don't talk about it enough, and it doesn't matter if we talk about it at this point. I made a video on climate change, like honestly, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago at this point? And in that video, at the time that I made that video, it was like, okay, we do something literally right now that is so absurdly radical that it'll never happen, or we're fucked. Obviously that hasn't happened, and things shit has only gotten worse. That's just like the most pressing, greatest, like most existentially bad example of why one might rationally be a bit pessimistic now. And then, there's Gaza, there is the inaction in the Western world against that relative to previous imperialist wars. Even like, I feel like in a way, at least in Europe, there was even more opposition to Iraq, for example. And it's like, it's hard not to be pessimistic. It's I think it's kind of realistic to be pessimistic. It's realistic to look at things and be like, man, shit is kind of bleak right now.
Right, but it can only get the only way to make it get worse or prevent it from getting any worse is to, try.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying we shouldn't try.
All
That's
right, Noah,
I always
you get in there. I'm gonna pee real quick. You can watch my chair for the time being.
Yeah,
Just
like
doing the
things
thing.
are as bad as they have ever been, but doesn't that feel like an argument? That doesn't feel like an argument against trying, Not that you're necessarily making that
Yeah, I mean, I
argument, but
absolutely do not. I never ever have and will never tell people to give up. Yeah, I
Sure.
mean, I never will. I feel like there was one argument I made a couple years ago where, like, I'd like sort of jokingly said, like, if you're American, just fucking leave, just leave and go try to be Che Guevara somewhere. Um, I mean, I don't actually think that, but sometimes it does feel like you could maybe do more elsewhere if you're American. Particularly now, like honestly, recently, like to bring up one recent example of what this is not American, but it's another country that has already long had the sort of repression of free speech that the US is now getting. In Germany, Red Media, this media company that was pro-Palestine, literally got like judicially harassed into shutting down because they reported on like multiple journalists, like links to Israel and Zionist outlets and stuff. And as a result of that, like they got reported to the cops, they got sued, all of this stuff to the point where like the founder is now facing like a 3-year prison sentence for literally just like calling out German journalists for supporting like Zionist propaganda. And when that is the sort of environment that we're in right now, and that is also where the US is going, I don't even remember what I was initially talking about. I just really wanted to shoehorn that in there because I forgot to talk about my stream this week.
Pessimism
But, like,
versus optimism, I suppose.
yeah, like I used to, like the US used to be so much better on that sort of thing. Now it's, man, what do you even say about this?
Yeah,
But
it brings a little
now
more
it's like,
context. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say like that sort of thing is a great reason to be pessimistic because like the crackdown on pro-Palestine speech is not just a crackdown on pro-Palestine speech. I feel it's in not everywhere it's happening. It's going to be extended to other things as well.
Yeah, it's an entry point into the conversation because Israel and Israel advocacy groups are they have a stranglehold. Like they have very powerful advocacy groups. They have a really powerful influence peddling operation that's very sophisticated.
You're going to get clipped.
Wait, why?
Clipped anti-Semitism.
Well, it's just okay. Yeah,
I know it's just true. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and I think that because of that reason, like these are all advocacy organizations that masquerade as like Jewish advocacy organizations. They act like they are entirely predisposed with combating anti-Semitism, and they have a lot of institutional prowess. They have a lot of institutional prominence, and I think Trump recognized that, or at least not Trump necessarily, but the Heritage Foundation, American Enterprise Institute, like the guys that did Project 2025, also had a write-out for this called Project Esther. The New York Times actually reported on this, surprisingly enough, the other day, which was weird to see. But they detail this. They talk about how the goal is to basically undermine the First Amendment by using the pre-existing liberal adjacent and firm liberal organizations to make this point of attacking the First Amendment for non-citizens and then potentially citizens alike, and create a new legal precedent. The starting point is Israel, but it won't stop there. It will turn into whatever they declare is a terrorist, whatever they declare is like material support for terrorism, and that could be something as stupid as like fucking saying Teslas suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly like just this is sort of not 100% a response to what you're saying because I don't disagree with it, but like, you can see like I don't think Trump cares much about Israel. I think Trump cares about Israel insofar as he sees it as useful to the USA. Not he's not like an ideological Zionist or anything.
No, like Joe Biden
And
was an ideological Zionist.
Yeah, I don't think Trump cares about people in the USA being anti-Israel that much, but I think he sees it as a good excuse to like rile his base up against immigrants. Like we have these immigrants here who are pro-terrorist, blah blah blah, and also as a way to sort of demonstrate without actually really doing anything that like, look, we're harder on these pro-Palestinian fucks than the Democrats were. Look, we're actually arresting them. We're questioning them at airports.
Wait, hold on. You're muted.
And this other stuff. That's the Tesla stuff that you mentioned is a great example of that. Like, you're attacking Tesla, somehow you're attacking the government. I don't even think Elon Musk is like a part of the government anymore.
Hold on one second.
You're back.
Yeah, I can't even hear Noah. Can you hear him?
Wait.
Oh, I can hear you now, Noah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I turned my headphones off and then the whole thing exploded. Keep going.
Okay.
Okay, what
BadEmpanada was saying a bunch of anti-Semitic stuff, and I bravely defended
I hit the button.
Israel.
Yeah. Hasan actually called the ADL, the ADL cop cars on the way to my house. I won't be seen again soon. Just like the South African activists who they helped disappear back in the 70s. Look it up.
Yeah. In the 90s, they got prosecuted for it. In the 90s, they literally got prosecuted for it because they were caught. They were caught spying on.
So they got prosecuted as in like they got convicted, or there was just like an investigation?
I think there was an investigation. I remember reading about, but in the 90s they were like outed as directly spying on black protesters. Of course, that's par for the course. That's a double Monty. Both Israel and also apartheid South Africa hate black people. But what was funnier is they were also spying on Jewish student groups that were also against apartheid in South Africa. So the Apartheid Defense League, as I like to call them, was spying on Jewish Americans at the behest of apartheid South Africa. Fantastic stuff.
This is it's because of the like South Africa Israel similarity and alliance, they just can't hide it, can they? There are a lot of like organizations in Western countries that have like this veneer that makes them like untouchable sacred cows of, we fight anti-Semitism. And sometimes they do, sometimes they do actually. Like the ADL does actually have like for example, like resources on its website, like that accurately describe a lot of stuff in regards to anti-Semitism and like just in general Nazi stuff. Like look at this like Nazi symbol or whatever. Okay, useful, great. But that is not the primary function of this organization. The primary function of this organization is the Israel advocacy.
They have to do that so they can do the nefarious Israel advocacy. Because if they were just doing Israel advocacy, they would come across as ridiculous. Like people would be like, "The fuck? Aren't you supposed to be like combating anti-Semitism? What are you doing?" And I think or maybe it was initially in its inception. I think it was because of the famous incident.
Yeah, it was like a guy got lynched or something. So they
exactly. Like I think in its inception,
and somehow it became this.
Yeah, in its inception, it was like a genuine. I suspect it was a genuine like a genuine way to combat anti-Semitism. And then it very quickly got swept away by Zionist interests. And that's why you had also the former president of the ADL shitting on the current president of the ADL recently. And I was like, bro, you guys are, I can't believe that there's like internal conflict within the ADL on this.
Yeah, just in regards to like the contradiction between like the ADL and the anti-hate speech image and then the Israel advocacy. I don't know if you've ever seen the Tucker Carlson clip where he calls them out on that, and he's like, the ADL says that Israel should take measures to maintain the Jewish demographic majority to make sure that Palestinians can't take over. I agree. So why is it that Jonathan Greenblatt, who at the time was the leader of the ADL, why is it that he says that in the US we need to have this flood of migrants to make it so that we are no longer a demographic majority, and then they vote us out? And it's like, Tucker Carlson is a piece of shit, but he's not wrong in that
he's a fascist talking to another fascist, and he's saying you're being a little hypocritical to the other fascist.
Yeah, it's like, so they have like two faces. Clearly, it's like one face is like we are an anti-hate speech group. Yeah, Black Lives Matter, and then the other face is, but no, Israel. We're going to do all the shit that we rally against in the USA in Israel, and we support it 100%.
And you can't say anything in the United States of America against that, or else you will face severe repercussions.
I feel like at least this is one of the reasons why I said that you got to be a little bit harsher, is because this sort of thing, it is actually kind of eroding. Because a lot of the Zionist harassment, not all of it, obviously, because they do actually have institutional power where they can do real shit to you that is not just interpersonal. But a lot of the Zionist harassment and doxing apparatus only reason it really has its power because of the social pressure. Like, a social media harassment of an employer, and the employer's like, look, they come up to you one day and they're like, look, you're not a bad worker, but I have 200 people sending me messages on Facebook. I don't know what to do about this, so I have to fire you.
The Ethan Klein method.
Yeah, and then I think it's absolutely possible for us at the very least to fight against that to the point where it no longer has any power, to just laugh in their fucking face when they try to do that sort of shit, and try to educate other people on how equating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism should not be allowed to work anymore. And a part of that is pushing back against what I call Jewish exceptionalism, which sometimes, sadly, you do engage in on your broadcast.
Oh, great. This is a good point of contention. I don't think so.
You disagree with me, or you think you don't engage in it?
I disagree with you.
Okay, so you think pointing to specifically Jewish people is something that's that we should be doing in the pro-Palestine movement?
I don't think that they should be the primary focus, but I think it's important to do that because Americans are so fucking stupid that they literally need to see a Jewish person to be like, oh, I guess this isn't yeah, people are stupid when they say this guy is anti-Semitic, because it is a big focus. And and also Jewish people that play a role in these protests, in the organization of these protests, also recognize that role that they play as well, because that's an important part of decoupling Zionism from Judaism, which I think should happen, because I think it's the truth. I don't think it's it doesn't matter to me that Israel claims is the case, but it's very clear to me, at least from all of the all of the Jewish anti-Zionists that I've read the works of and am very good friends with, that it's not a monolithic force at all. And I think it's not necessarily to shelter the feelings or place the feelings of Jewish Americans ahead of the death and destruction that Palestinians are facing. But I think when I'm doing this argument, when I'm doing Hasbara, when I'm telling the truth to Americans about the situation, I think it's important for them to also recognize and to decouple Zionism from Judaism, because I think the other scary side of this is that there is truth to the canary in the coal mine, regardless of the fact that Canary Mission has bastardized that term, that anti-Semitism is a primary marker of fascist ideology for the most part in the West. And I worry that the only thing that will come about this is the death and destruction of the Palestinians, and then the resentment towards Israel will not stay towards Israel, but will just simply turn into hating Jewish people and attributing them to the actions of Israel.
That's
and there will be no progress there.
All those guys get so big.
Yeah,
this active process.
And it's also something that the ADL and all these other Zionist groups in the United States of America actually benefit from. Because I always say this, there's a reason why they come after me more than they fucking come after Candace Owens. Why don't they come after Candace Owens? She has a massive audience. I'll tell you why they don't come after Candace Owens. What?
Because it's about Israel.
Because of what?
Because it is about Israel.
No, Candace Owens also is anti-Israel. but she's also anti-Semitic.
She's not anti-Israel in the way that they care about.
No, it's because she's anti-Semitic and anti-Israel. So they can always point to Candace Owens and say, you see, this person is anti-Semitic. That's why she doesn't like Israel. Or same with Dan Bilzerian. This person is anti-Semitic. That's why he doesn't like Israel. But someone like myself who combats against anti-Semitism with regular frequency am a major threat to groups like the ADL or any kind of Zionist organization because they can't pin me down as someone who is simply anti-Israel because he's anti-Semitic, and that plays a big role in getting young American Jews to also move away from the.
I mean, ultimately, like this is all. This, you know, we can't prove either way why they come after you, but I think the reason they come after you is totally different. The reason why they go after Candace Owens, they don't go after Candace Owens so much, is because she's not going to call Israel what it is, because ultimately she's someone who upholds the sort of structure behind what Israel is, which is, you know, like a settler colonial ethno state. She doesn't really give a shit about that. You know, she's an American nationalist. She's that sort of person. She's never going to call out like the superstructure. She's never going to call out what it is at its base. You will. I think that is way more. Sure. That is way more important as to why you are targeted deep down than just this. But you also denounce anti-Semitism thing because they have no problem hiding that part. Like they never even talk about that part. Honestly, like
no, they don't talk about it.
You would never know the way they talk about you that you say anything about it. Yeah, but I mean, the point that I'm making here is that you are more of a threat to them because of that than it is because of, you know, you also couch your denouncements of Israel with announcements of anti-Semitism sometimes. And
I think
what you said was
Candace Owens was a corollary point with what was being talked about earlier in regards to couching anti-Israel rhetoric for people that, for the average American, in their own material interests, in something that's going to be more digestible by saying, well, it's your money that's going to Israel to bomb these kids. It's like, oh, okay. In the same way that if you bring up the fact that some Jews are against Israel, it's like, oh, okay, that must mean something, right? Yeah, even though that's not the center of the conversation, and it shouldn't be. It's a tactical decision, right?
You could respond to them in a different way. If someone says to you, hey, people tell me that pro-Palestine people are anti-Semitic. What is the better response to that? Is it to say, my friend here is Jewish and he's pro-Palestine? What are you talking about? Or is it better to say, well, I'm against, you know, I'm against states like Israel, which is states that are run by one group for one group, regardless of who they're for. And this is why I'm against Israel. It's nothing to do with anti-Semitism or Jews or anything like that. And I think fundamentally you should understand that's the problem here.
No, I do
that as well.
Nice and quick.
Yeah, you do. But when you also
point to Saudi Arabia, I will be
and my friend told me it's okay, then the implication there is that what if enough of your friend, of people of the group that your friend is a part of, had the opposite opinion? Would that mean that there is, you know, something legitimate to this state? Obviously, you don't think that. No, so why do we keep making this argument?
I told you it's only complimentary, but the reason why I also make that argument is to make sure, because like, look, the reality is, if I were to, I care about anti-Semitism and not spreading it and making sure that like people understand that this is an issue.
I just interject here for a second with something that will get me clipped on the H3 podcast subreddit. What? I think you care too much about it. Too much.
I don't think so.
Think about, okay, what are Jews in today's Western society? They are basically slightly less white people.
They're white. Jews are, for the most part, firmly a part of the white class.
The like incredible like singular focus on anti-Semitism as this special kind of racism that is above all else specifically exists to legitimize Israel, specifically exists to put a chilling effect on anti-Israel speech. And you are sort of legitimizing that idea by putting such an emphasis on it as well.
No. And here's why. A big part of the advocacy for Israel revolves around constantly tangling it with Judaism. That is what I'm targeting. That is what I'm also trying to dismantle, because I don't care about just simply saying like I don't give a fuck if I mean there are times
The
where I go,
reason why that the reason why that has so much power is because of this idea of anti-Semitism as some ever-present, like singular, special kind of racist threat that's always there, no matter what the social position that Jews actually do have at the present moment in time is. And what I was trying to say is that like you legitimize that idea when you talk about it so much, and you always make sure to like put disclaimers in your speech about it, when ultimately, for one, not only does it not matter that in regards to like whether Israel is right or wrong, whether, you know, Jews support it or not, but two, when you sort of play into that terms there, which is that, oh, there's always this endless threat of anti-Semitism in the USA, which is something that they specifically play up so much nowadays, especially because they don't really have another angle to defend Israel, and the best thing that they can do is to act like, you know, pro-Palestine people are causing this great anti-Semitism crisis. So when you legitimize the idea, I'm not saying you do it on purpose or whatever, I'm saying maybe by accident, but like when you sort of play into that yourself by constantly denouncing anti-Semitism, by being a crusader against anti-Semitism singularly. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be against anti-Semitism. I'm not against anti-Semitism. I call out actual anti-Semitism way more than most people on the left do, which is worrying. But I don't think it's like this super singular issue that we always need to be conscious about. I think it's something that once you learn about it, you know, you can spot it, and we don't need to like always be couching what we're saying in like disclaimers and all this sort of thing to make sure that they don't think we're anti-Semitic, because by doing that, we very much legitimize the Zionist framing of the issue, which is specifically that anti-Semitism is super important. The problem here is not that we are not against anti-Semitism because we aren't. The problem is that very idea that anti-Semitism is presently this massive, like, overbearing threat that we all should be super concerned with, because that idea legitimizes Israel, and it's not true.
I do both. And that's the reason why I said I don't agree with what you're saying, is because I don't know if you see this or not, but I spent a great deal of time talking about precisely what you just mentioned, as far as like how this is weaponized, or how this is like classified as like a specific form of bigotry that is oftentimes bastardized. You're saying like Jews by and large in the United States of America like are classified as white and are in an exceptionally privileged circumstance in comparison to like the Palestinians, right? That's like you're saying. So like therefore,
I'm saying in comparison to other Americans, for example, as well.
Or even in comparison to other Americans. Sure, fine. I understand. I understand where you're coming from. Having said that, it's still a real bigotry, which is why I think that it's important to make sure that people are not taking their eyes off the ball. And I worry that because Americans are so wired towards bigotry, that the only way to make a convincing argument for them is to literally entertain anti-Semitic conspiracies. And that is why I think it is not a mistake that some of the largest voices that are seemingly anti-Israel in mainstream political discourse, including but not limited to, is the likes of Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens or Dan Bilzerian. All of these people who are basically they're incredibly popular, partially because they don't necessarily care about Palestinians. They don't give a shit about Palestinian emancipation at all. They're just using this as a popular. They're using this as a way to drive home more nefarious discourse about the ways in which Jews are controlling American media or whatever the fuck. And I think it's wrong too. And I know you agree with me on this, especially on the front like of the whole Israel controls America. Like there is an incredibly sophisticated and very expansive influence peddling operation from Israel into the United States of America that has solidified its like favored client nation state status. But ultimately, America still, if they wanted to, could just as easily make one fucking phone call and stop this in its entirety.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
I
I
hate
think the
people that
Israel lobby is allowed to exist more so than anything
yeah,
else.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
exactly. So you and I both agree on that front, so I'm not necessarily doing this as a way to say like Jews have this special status in America. Let's only care about them. Their opinions are more important than the opinions of like Palestinian Americans, for example, or anything like that. The reason why I actually I mean, I never entertained that. That was a big point of fucking contention that actually led to the Leftovers podcast ending. Was I was like, the fuck out of here with the Palestine from the river to the sea. Palestine would be free is anti-Semitic. What are you, insane? Like that was the major point of contention that me and Ethan had that led to literally this podcast ending. So I have obviously these red lines, but having said that, it's important for me to at least consistently address that for a couple different reasons. One, because there are people, especially in like progressive liberal spaces, that do fall into this propaganda that like, this is a product of like anti-Semitism. And two, I don't want to give any credence to the right wing anti-Semitic rhetoric that revolves around Israel because it's just wrong. It's a wrong solution, or there won't be any fucking solution whatsoever if their desires are followed on.
I think you
That's why
have
I stress
actually,
it.
you might not have noticed it, but you have actually sort of become harsher on this recently. Maybe it's because of me, maybe not. No, you definitely have. You definitely have the like, you know, the dog walker comment, the local dog catcher or whatever it was. That was exceptional from you, and that is progress. You might not see it, but it is. I believe recently you also said something. What was it? I was thinking about it there, but I forgot what it was. But you said something in a similar vein to that, regarding like support for Israel or whatever and stuff. And like, no, what you said was, I think it was definitely you. It has to have been you. It was that you outright said that in the context of Israel Palestine, like Jews are like, you know, white people owning slaves, basically. You know, not exactly, but like Jews in Israel are in that sort of social position, and that's true. So, like,
Wait, what do you
talking
mean?
about,
I've been saying that. I've been saying that since day one. I have time
I
and
don't
time
think you
again
have.
mentioned that like what Israel has done is far worse than like a Jim Crow. Like what
Okay, but you're saying
Israel.
what Israel has done. I'm talking about the social position of Jewish Israelis.
Yeah, that's another major part of my commentary is like I always talk about how like the different the ways in which like in the Western world someone can claim that there's an anti-Semitic attack happening when you have a Jewish person who gets the Star of David painted outside of their house. This happened in France, I think like immediately after October 7.
Mhm.
But when the Star of David is painted outside of the house of someone in the West Bank, that means something entirely different. This is a way to explain the dynamic of like what Judaism looks like in the region and the power position that Jews hold in Israel in particular, but certainly across the board as an expression of American imperialism. This is a very important part of my commentary from the jump. I've always talked about this.
Okay,
Like
well, my point
that
here
there is
was
no
like
like
my
I don't
point
think
here
there's
was
any
getting at,
marginalization
which
of
I'm
Jews.
sure you agree with. I'm sure
Well,
you agree with, and I think, you know, maybe you think that you've been saying this all along. I don't think you have. Like, you know, agree to disagree on that. I'm not specifically here just to call you out. You know, I'm not here to like hold Hassan Piker to account. I'm not Ethan Klein. But my point here is that in the context of Israel Palestine, like talking about anti-Semitism is a fucking joke. It's so worthless. It's pointless. It's like talking about anti-white racism. It is all
dude,
lives
that's
matter.
literally what I told Ethan.
Yeah.
In our
Well,
first
when did you tell him that?
conversation.
Like 4 years ago?
In,
I don't know. When I saw you, like, come on, Ethan, don't call Jewish Voice for Peace the capos. What you should have
no,
said
that
there,
was what I
Hassan
said
Piker.
before that.
Oh, Hassan Piker, what you should have said to him in that situation is, Ethan, in this case, the Holocaust victims are the fucking Palestinians. They have capos, not the fucking Israelis. Shut the fuck up, you moron.
Okay. You have to understand something. You have to understand something. I literally told him verbatim what you just said, not the Holocaust thing, but I should have. You're right, and I have made this comparison on numerous occasions since then. But I literally
point
told
to
him
each.
verbatim exactly what you said. I was like, "What are you talking about? You're doing like all lives matter shit, like a white supremacist to someone saying Black Lives Matter. Like, why would I listen to what you have to say on this issue? Like, I'm telling you what the Palestinians are saying in this emancipatory slogan, and you, on the other hand, are presenting your feelings on this issue, when if you are at odds with this message, like you are a part of the party, you are defending the party that is doing these actions. It's the same as listening to someone like a white Christian right winger say all lives matter to black people that are saying Black Lives Matter. That was literally the conversation that we had on October 17th, 2023. So yes, I have been
And you
saying
don't write
this.
down to the date. Well, I mean, I'm happy to take your word for it.
You can go back and watch it. You know,
No, I'm
go,
not. I'm not going to go and relitigate your clips from 3 years ago. Okay, it's not 3 years ago, but you know what I mean. Uh, I'm not here to do that. I mean, I don't even know why I'm here. I'm here to make money for UNRWA so they can give people food so they don't die. That's why I'm here, honestly. So,
yeah. But yeah,
I mean, I'm glad at least now we seem to agree on that, and I will have my entire harassment Discord server permanently watching your stream to make sure that you stay in line. So be very careful.
Listen, the Turk does not concern themselves with the opinions of the Greek. Okay,
Hideous Ottoman.
the Ottoman does not concern himself with this. You are a very powerful janissary, though. I will admit.
You are literally a fucking like a living room ornament. Shut the fuck up.
No, I'm the Sultan. Okay, I'm the Sultan here. I'm the
I've said for
Padishah.
years, okay, like the first
And you
video
are
I ever made about Hasan
you are the nubile boy that my soldiers brought in and were like, this boy right here, he's gonna be a good warrior.
Drew Pavlu's son is gonna be the janissary, not mine. Oh
no, he's a terrible janissary.
No, Drew Pavlu recently made a video. He recently made a video where he like it was like a BadEmpanada denouncement video, and it's just totally like random and it's out of nowhere. But he made a video. It's like, BadEmpanada tried to sue me and I won. And it's like I sent him a legal letter because he was publicly accusing me of like raping children. Okay, and I decided not to go through with it. And I ended up raising money for charity and for UNRWA instead. This was like a year ago. And in his video talking about this, Drew Pavlu, like he made like a counter accusation against me that what he had accused me of was true, and part of his evidence of this was a tweet where I posted a poll that said, should Drew Pavlu's children be conscripted into janissary duty? And I shit you not, when the time came for him to put evidence on the screen for his allegations against me, that was what he put on the screen. And the best part about it was that was attached to a poll which was like 99.9% yes. And he edited the poll out of the screenshot as well. And this is specifically relevant to our discussion about the Ottoman and the Greek. So I thought that was funny.
Well, I think he would make for a horrible janissary. I would never allow him to be.
We would need to get to him very early before Drew destroys his mind.
Yeah. You, on the other hand, you have the gumption and the intensity necessary
I'm a bit old. I'm extremely
to be in the fucking front lines.
What do you think about the Armenian genocide? You're Turkish. I hold you collectively responsible.
You know what's actually really interesting? You know what's really interesting about that?
The Armenians away from Hasan Piker.
So what's really interesting about that is like, well, first of all, in Turkey, it's not even like in school, like I learned it as though it never happened, or like people were lying about it. And I always thought it was like interesting because like something just didn't add up. You know what I mean? What?
So they just don't talk about it at all?
No, I don't know what it looks like now in like current curriculum, but yeah, when I was growing up and I went to I went to middle school and high school all the way up into high school in Turkey. It's like kind of embarrassing to kind of admit this, but like System of a Down kind of played a role in me going, maybe there's more to this, like to this narrative, which is such a strange thing to admit now, like, you know, decades later. But yeah, that was my first like introduction into perhaps the overarching narrative that the state was presenting as true was maybe not true. It's really interesting though, because like I've never denied the Armenian genocide, and yet like that's like the number one thing.
It's literally just the first thing they think of when you're Turkish. It's literally
Andrew Tate has claimed that I deny the Armenian genocide. He's like like, which is weird because you know he's a fucking horrible monster, but
isn't he like? He's been arrested in like every country in the world at this point.
He came to America and did a rape. Like he squeezed in a fucking rape in America while he was here for like 2 weeks. It's crazy. It is crazy.
Did he get out? Like, did he escape before
Yeah,
they
he just like lives
indicted
in
him?
Dubai, I think. I don't know. I don't know how
Okay,
the
yeah,
fuck that
interesting.
works.
Oof.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so like,
Maybe Entertainment
what
will
is
say
like the
something mean
narrative?
about
Literally,
me.
like, they just don't even mention anything in Turkey regarding the Armenian genocide. It's just totally
Um,
gone, or
they say it's a lie. It's similar to Israel, ironically enough, another state that also I think does not
like
recognize
they
the
left
Armenian
voluntarily.
genocide. No, the narrative is at the time when I was learning about it was like during World War One, the Armenians, by way of being like Orthodox Christians, I think, were aligning with Russia on the Russian front with the Russian Empire, and so they were collaborators with the Russian Empire, and therefore they were killing like
Yeah.
Turkish villagers, like they were killing their own villagers. So they had to be transferred. It was a population transfer into Syria. And that like along the way of said population transfer, accidents happen, mistakes happen, and some of the Armenians died due to the horrible conditions. But
Mhm.
ultimately, it wasn't a genocide, is what they say, and they claim that it's a population transfer or something. But the other interesting part about this, obviously, is that like this right here is also part of the reason why I'm so frustrated all the time with like people that believe that the Nakba didn't happen, or people that deny Israel's ongoing genocide. Where it's like, well, if I can fucking understand after having this beamed to my consciousness from an early age that like the Armenian genocide is real, in spite of like what all of the things that I trusted, all of the institutions that I trusted telling me that it's not real, then you can fucking figure out that Israel is also a genocidal state, you know?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I think you have to understand as well. A lot of Zionists do not believe the things that they say. That's simply true. Like a lot of Israelis do not believe the things that they say. Like they like in terms of these people are indoctrinated. I think a lot of the time it's not that they're indoctrinated, it's that they recognize a system that benefits them and they will lie to, try to legitimize it or maintain it. Um, I think Israelis overall know what happened during the Nakba. You know, I think in Turkey it's kind of different because there was not like a sort of there's not like a conflict afterwards that they have to benefit from denying it, so they don't really need to think about it that much. Whereas in Palestinians are literally still there right now claiming the land from Israelis, so they need to continually reinforce their narrative, not so much as
Yeah.
the Turkish do.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I mean, it's like in America, once a long enough time passes, like no one talks about or cares about the indigenous genocide of the
Yeah, like
Native
I mean,
Americans.
Biden literally like went and just apologized to Native Americans, and everyone forgot about it the next day because it's just like
Yeah.
now they're comfortable talking about it because there's no consequences for talking about it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my biggest fear is that like this will be relegated to the dustbins of history, and then like Israel will do like fucking disgusting land acknowledgements 100 years in the future. You know what I mean? I just like
Oh
thinking about
yeah,
that
that's
makes me so angry.
I don't know. I don't even know if Zionists would do that. I don't know. Zionism seems like a particularly bad settler colonial ideology that might even reach that stage.
Probably not. Yeah, because
Like,
I hope that there will be a dismantling of Zionism across the board, and that there will be a single solitary secular state.
This is a
Inshallah.
yeah, I
certified
mean, on its
hood
own, Israel
classic.
will collapse probably. It's probably unsustainable. However, clearly, um, Israel is presently trying to just get rid of all Palestinians. Like they're trying to do that. The problem is for them, they are kind of a small country without basically no geopolitical leverage anymore. Like whatever usefulness they used to have in terms of fucking up all fucking around in all the politics of their neighbors, they're kind of beginning to outweigh that in their just blatant and overt genocide that now everyone can see, and even their own people are having trouble denying. So I don't know. Maybe there is some case for optimism there in that Israel is not going to be able to carry out their goals as much as they would like to, and they might try like they might like explode under the weight of trying to, because Israel is not like the colonial United States where they could just do this shit with literally zero consequence at all, without any help from anyone. It is a country that is totally dependent on the rest of the world to even have a slight chance of existing. And for it to do what it wants to do, while its allies can also somehow sell the idea that they are for a two-state solution, all that sort of stuff, I don't know, it seems untenable, but they're definitely trying anyway.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I think they have a grand design in the region, and Israel plays an important role in this. And I think that there's going to be more. Israel's going to play a major role in like
Yeah.
going against Iran as well, because I think the ultimate goal for America is to go and decouple the rest of the world from trading with China, move them to like India or other secondary markets for manufacturing, only so they can more easily go to war with China. Or
I mean, I think Israel has been super important to Middle Eastern strategy for the US in particular. I mean, you can see the result of that right now. The reason the Arab countries don't do anything about Gaza is in large part thanks to the role that Israel played in just totally fucking up regional geopolitics to the point where the US was able to capture their governments. It's
no, for sure,
amazing at that. But then there's also like even though like there's a normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia, Saudi Arabia and Israel are like going to be rivals at some point because their own interests in the region is kind of conflict. The Saudis want to be the hegemon. Israel also wants to be the hegemon. And at some point that's going to come to a head as well. So the US like aligning with Saudi Arabia also sort of puts I feel like a time limit in Israel's existence, honestly, because it doesn't matter. The US can't control Saudi Arabia. They want you to think that they can, but they don't. They support it. Saudi Arabia is way more powerful than Israel will ever be. And I think that creates a situation where eventually Israel and the Saudis will get into a spat about something, and that will probably balloon into a conflict between the two. It's just, will the Palestinians be dead before then? I hope not.
I mean, I think if the Saudis were thinking that far ahead, they would already also have a foothold in the resistance to a certain degree, in the resistance against Israel, at least to make sure that there's like decent relations if that time ever comes.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're too cocked. I mean, the Saudis are cocked to some degree. I sound like a serious political analyst, don't I?
No, they are servile dogs to American interests because primarily they want to diversify their investment portfolios. They want to get a stronger foothold in Western capital. They want Western capital to come into the country, and they care about those things. And they know that, and also they like the weapons and possibly get a nuke. And all of those things,
if they wanted
Donald
a
Trump's
nuke, they would already have it. No one's stopping them.
I think Donald
They
Trump
might already have it, honestly.
I don't know. I don't know if they already have it or not, but by the end of Trump's presidency, no, I don't know how long that'll be. They probably will have one.
What do you think the world will look like at the end of Trump's presidency?
Nah, dude, I have no fucking idea. I don't know. He's the great peacekeeper.
Did you see that Dan Saltman? This is totally unrelated. Did you see that Dan Saltman called you out because it's possible that your interview was 50 minutes instead of 2 hours? What do you have to say to that, Hasan?
It comes out.
Yeah, dude, that was really funny because like I think he openly admitted that he's like lying, and it doesn't matter that he's lying. And what matters is like the narrative.
Here. I need to, this is your entertainment. Okay, I'm a CBP officer. I'm Iraqi. Saddam was a lion, and also Saddam was a lion.
Yeah, he was a Baathist.
Every Iraqi I've ever met has told me that Saddam was a lion, and also, so how long was the interview?
Oh, I don't fucking know, dude. I have no idea. He's I think they did a.
I mean, you probably weren't counting.
They did like a timeline assessment, and I think they like added some time to like when the plane landed or something. I don't fucking know. Like, who gives a shit?
I mean, I don't know. Like, it's like Hasan Piker was only interviewed for 30 minutes. Okay, so what? I mean, they
Like,
interviewed you like in the
point of
place where they
contention.
take the non-citizens. That's
Yeah,
the whole
the point of
problem.
contention there isn't like the length of my interrogation. The point of contention there is the fact that they asked me about like what my loyalty is to Donald Trump or
Yeah, and
Israel.
people were trying to frame it like this is normal. Like this is something that happens to everyone when you internationally travel. No, when you
Yeah.
internationally travel and they ask you questions, like they were comparing this to like, oh, you get asked when you give them your passport, and is this business or pleasure? They think it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah,
No,
no, it
you were
was
literally
not.
pulled aside for like an interview that they usually only give to like foreigners
Yeah.
to
But
ask you about
also,
Yeah,
basically
that
whether you're a terrorist.
what's funny about it is that like the Department of Homeland Security admitted that it happened. So I don't know
Yeah.
why they're like still running this narrative that like this did not happen actually, because like the DHS openly was like it did happen, but it's routine. He's lying for likes for saying he was
If you want to
politically
know who did
targeted.
lie about something, you ever hear of Ethan Klein's skulls?
Yeah, that's what the interviewer asked me, and I was too afraid to admit that. Yes,
Oh
he said,
yeah.
"Hey, it says here that you have a sword that Ethan said was a swastika, but also admitted wasn't a swastika. What do you have to say about this sword? Where did you purchase
I
this
mean,
sword?"
at least the DHS guy was 10 times smarter than these motherfuckers, and he just
Yeah,
immediately recognized that Rashid wasn't a hoofy.
yeah. That's why I thought I lucked out with the fucking Iraqi agent. But
You
I
would
think
think
that
that
was
someone who works for them would at least know that sort of stuff anyway, even if they want Iraqi, no? Or maybe not.
no. I think the reason why they gave me the Iraqi guy was because I assume I don't know too much
They
about the
thought you were an
background.
Arab.
No, no, not because I'm an Arab, but the line of questioning was going to pertain to like Middle Eastern stuff because he asked me if I traveled to the Gulf and shit too. So I think they have like different agents that are more knowledgeable on certain issues. So they were like, "Oh, like we'll give the Iraqi guy to question this dude."
Uh, yeah,
Because
probably
like,
that.
because I was coming back from France, I wasn't coming back from the fucking Gulf. Like I was coming back um from a family vacation with from France, but that was the other reason why that was suspicious. Why are you asking me about Israel Palestine? I'm just traveling back from France with my family. Interesting.
I mean, they just saw an opportunity to like potentially get you. That's really all there is to it.
Yeah.
Like if you had said the wrong thing, then I don't even know. Like, how would they arrest you though? Even if you had said, "Yeah, I love Hamas," it's the USA. Like, there's no way that would fucking fly in the court. So what was their plan? That's the scary
Well,
part.
see, that's the problem. So I talked to a couple journalists about this, including Jeremy Scahill, and I think the thing that they're trying to do now is, and they have done this in like previous court cases where they claim that like offering legal counsel to someone of a known terrorist organization is considered material support. And that's an expansion on what previously used to be considered material support. Because speech in the past was not considered material support, but they say this is like speech, but also services at the same time. So I think what this administration is trying to do is basically muddy the line between material support and speech in an effort to claim that like if you actually interview a member of Hamas, Hezbollah, or like the Houthis, you're doing material support, which I think is
Yeah.
really fucked up. And I did not want to be the precedent-setting court case in that regard. So,
Yeah.
and luckily I had not at the time interviewed.
And I mean, they
someone,
won.
but
There was no legal basis for that anyway, because the Houthis weren't a terrorist group on the list yet when you did that. So it doesn't sound like a
oh
very
no, yeah,
sound case, even by their own
that's not
terms.
my fear. Yeah, I think. Well, I'm worried because in general, I'm worried that like there are so many fucking journalists. Like Jeremy is not in America right now, but like, what's up? Is he going to come back to America and they're going to fucking make him a precedent
Yeah, like
setting?
they're basically doing like European sort of laws in the US now.
But no, not even in Europe. You can still, as a journalist, interview members of terror groups.
Oh, yes, there is that. Yeah. You
Yeah.
can't say like I like Hamas though. You get in big trouble for that.
Yeah, yeah, I know. That's why fucking Kneecap had to apologize. And
Just on
did you
that
see
point,
that?
by the way. Yeah, like that. Oh my god, they were begging. They were on their fucking knees, man. Please don't arrest us.
Well, they really fucked them over, dude. They really fucked them over. Like they scoured through thousands of hours of concert footage to find one time where they said like up Hamas, up Hezbollah, to be like, you're going to fucking prison, which is so psychotic. And I totally understand why in that situation to be like, oh, that's crazy. We're not doing that. We didn't do that. You misunderstood us. We meant up yours.
What I was gonna say to you is I heard this from random people in my chat. So it might not be true. But I heard you say, like, BadEmpanada doesn't know what can happen to us in the US when you speak out against Israel because he's in Argentina. You know? Do you know what happens to you in Argentina when you speak out against Israel? You think we
What?
don't have an ADL? We do. It's called DAIA. Okay? I don't know what it
I
stands
don't know
for.
what happens. I actually don't know the
Okay,
Argentinian hate speech laws. Didn't they fucking disappear like an insane number of Jewish people in Argentina?
Yeah. Oh, they disappeared Jewish people. Like this was like the US-backed dictatorship that did it, and they took like a
Yeah.
bunch of Jewish people to, and the ones who got released, like who were tested, gave testimonies. They're like, they were asking us if Israel wants to colonize Argentina because there's like this conspiracy theory in Argentina because like Herzl and that Zionist movement initially thought about Argentina as like a possible place for the Jewish colony, and because of that, there's a conspiracy theory in Argentina that Israel still wants to take over a part of Argentina. So the dictatorship, geniuses they were, kidnapped a bunch of random Jews and would ask them, like, electrocute their ballsack and be like, "What do you want in Patagonia? What do you people want in Patagonia?"
Yeah.
So that's a fun little tidbit for you.
I think
Aside from that, though,
I think it was the Ottoman Sultan that initially, when asked by Theodore Herzl to purchase Israel, historic Palestine, he said, "Fuck off. That's not going to happen. Go to Argentina or something." I think that was the initial.
about it, and then but like in the end, like Herzl, at least I don't know what the rest of them for. I haven't like read the minutes of their meetings and stuff, but like Herzl decided on Israel because he thought it would like unleash nationalist sentiments better than a random place. So
yeah, there was also what was the other? There was another place in Africa. There was another
Uganda, yeah,
Uganda. And the irony is they were like, we can't do Uganda because like the natives will kill us if we do Uganda. That was one of the big reasons why they didn't want to do Uganda, from what I understand.
Yeah, they thought they were too combative, probably.
Yeah.
But
which is
what I
crazy.
was getting at, like at the beginning of this little segment here, is like, so in Argentina, guess what the legal definition of anti-Semitism is under hate speech laws? Guess what definition they use? IHRA. You know it.
IHRA? Is it IHRA?
Yeah. It's
Classic.
like comparing Israel to the Nazis is anti-Semitic. Or saying that Israel is racist is anti-Semitic. This is the legal definition of anti-Semitism under Argentine
What
hate
happens
speech
to
laws.
you when you say stuff?
I don't know. Why haven't they reported me? Why? Where are they? I'm here. Come at me. But they mostly go after like politicians, as far as I know. Like, so about 6 months ago, there was a politician who said like Israel is Nazi Germany, Israel is racist. He literally just said that sort of thing.
He said the
Our
truth.
ADL, our ADL took him to court, and he got sentenced to a 6-month suspended prison sentence.
What?
So yeah.
So what's gonna happen if they come after you? You're gonna go to jail?
Maybe then I'll actually stream from jail.
Yeah, no, motherfucker. You're gonna be like, "Am Israel high, sir? I'm so sorry."
Yes, sir. I'm so sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Please don't come after me, Mr. Millet.
Just like me at the fucking the DHS when they were like, "Do you like Hamas? Do you think it's a resistance group?" And I just kept repeating, Hamas is a recognized terrorist group by the U.S. State Department. That's what I just kept repeating over and over again after every question. I was like, the Houthis are
That's the best
recognized
answer.
as a terrorist group by the U.S. State Department. And then whenever they kept asking me about Israel, my opinions on Israel, I was like, I am on the side of peace.
You sounded
peace.
like fucking Ahmed Fouad Al-Khatib for a while there.
Yeah. I'm on the side of peace. Or the other guy's like Luai Ahmed or whatever. There's a Yemeni version of
the one who they were posted like fucking Ethan Klein quoted him. Oh my God,
yeah.
these
He was
people.
like, Hasan,
I'm
you
a
don't
staunch
understand.
advocate for the Palestinian people. Here's this paid token Arab who happens to agree with every single Zionist talking point.
Dude, paid token Arab from the Atlantic Council. Like, here is the guy that works for the fucking Atlantic Council. Like, are you kidding me?
The Yemeni one as well, or are you talking about Ahmed?
No, I think that I don't know what the Yemeni one does. I didn't even look at him. He's hotter than the Palestinian token. I'll be honest.
The Palestinian token guy. Oh my God, he's. I don't know if I have a video on where I cover him, but his story, it's incredibly sad, and then it's also pathetic because he lost like 20 family members in Gaza during the war.
Yeah.
And he weaponizes that to do pro-Israel propaganda. He's like, I don't blame Israel for this. I blame Hamas. Blah 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 blah. Oh my god, it's so pathetic and disgusting.
I mean,
And I initially thought
son of Hamas.
he could be saved, but I was wrong. Son of Hamas is just a joke.
I mean, he's
honestly.
a Mossad operative, isn't he?
No. His story is way funnier. Okay, he wasn't a Mossad operative. He was a Shin Bet operative.
Oh yeah,
And,
Shin Bet.
so in the West Bank, and he ended up he had to leave the West Bank for his own safety, obviously, because he was a Shin Bet operative, and the Israelis did not help him. The Israelis did not let him enter Israel because he's a Palestinian. He's still a Palestinian, so he had to go to the U.S. and beg for refugee status. He was initially denied refugee status until the Israelis shipped over a bunch of former Shin Bet members to testify that he was a great servant to Israel, and then they gave him refugee status. So, he worked for Israel. He sold his soul. He sold his soul for Israel, and he still was not allowed in Israel. He had to go to the U.S.
Is he now allowed in Israel at least?
I don't think he's ever been to Israel, as far as I know.
No.
He went straight from Palestine to the U.S.
No. That motherfucker
might
is
have
not
been,
even.
I'm not sure, but
Bro,
they did not let him live there.
No way. He must be. Because dude, I feel like I've seen him on Israeli television.
He lives in the US. He usually is on video link and stuff, but he speaks he does the tour, the speaking tour in US universities is how he makes his money, most of it. And he might have visited Israel, but he's not allowed to live there.
Bro, he's such a nasty little fucking freak, dude. I hate him. He is the worst of the worst. He's such the thing,
at least he's so bad that he's so bad and obvious that he's easy to ignore, I feel, because it's most people will discard him out of hand unless they're already Zionists.
Well, also because half of the people are going to be like, you're Muslim, I don't care about you. So there's that too.
Yeah.
But no, it's my favorite Zionist is Rabbi Shmuley, because I think he's basically creating anti-Zionists everywhere he goes. You could have motherfuckers who are like, listen, I went to Jewish camp. I grew up loving Israel. And then the one time that they stand next to Rabbi Shmuley, they're like, I'm done. I'm over. We have to dismantle.
I don't know anything about him. I mean, I've mostly heard him because I've seen anti-Semites talk about how much they hate him. So you're anti-Semitic by association. I'm sorry.
No. I think that he is not he's gross, but I don't think he's he doesn't anger me. I think it's funny is what I'm saying.
He went on Piers Morgan and said on October 7th there was 400 bloody breasts that were cut off of women.
Yeah, and they played soccer. He said they chopped off
them around
Jewish women's breasts and played soccer with them.
400 of them as well.
Man, that's where Ethan Klein gets all the shit that he makes up about himself from Israel. It's like they mailed me the skulls, they cut off the boobs. It's the same sort of shit.
I don't understand what any of that. See, that's the other thing. I don't give a fuck about the drama stuff that happens to Ethan at all. So that was also really weird when he was trying to fucking pin this shit on me, and I was like, did you ever get evidence that someone called CPS? And he was like, no.
That's another thing. I have not seen him provide any evidence that it even happened. And we're talking about the CPS shit. They're going to be so angry about it. I don't know. I'm not going to take anything this guy says at face value. He doesn't deserve that, given the shit that he says about other people and given the fact that he just makes shit up all the time. But
I just don't understand how this is pinned on whoever the fuck he seemingly is beefing with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he's someone who was backed into a corner. I feel like he knows deep down that he can't, he's defending something that is indefensible. And when you're in that situation, you scream victim, and that's what he's been doing. Even if the CPS call did happen, creating a victim narrative out of that is insane. It's just a little checkup on your kids for a day or two. Give me a fucking break, dude. He treats it like he was raided by SEAL Team 6 and the concubine guy took his kids to be his janissary or something. The concubine guy, if you don't know, is the guy is SEAL Team 6 the one who killed Osama bin Laden?
Yeah.
I'm going to pretend they are. But one of them said to a bunch of twinks on Twitter that without social media,
you're talking about Mick Booyah.
That's my reference. Yeah. So he's treating it like that guy came in with SEAL Team 6 and kidnapped his kids to be his fucking concubine or something, okay? That is the narrative that Ethan Klein is going with here. It sounds like he got swatted, basically. And dude, it's just a visit from CPS. Should someone have called him on you? Like a random viewer? No, you shouldn't give a fuck about this guy and his kids enough to do that. But like he's treating it like he's like he's been victimized in a fucking absurd way. And it's not what happened at all. And he's been doing this more and more and more. He's a victim of harassment. Everyone's harassing him. People called Hila a terrorist. There's no discussion of whether by his own definition she merits that label or not, which is, by the way, how I got involved in this in the first place. Because I saw what he was saying about Rashid, and it fucking offended me that he sees a like Arab teenager when by his own logic, his wife fits that definition that he was using. So, you know, think a little bit before you say dumb shit.
Luckily, this fucking CPS agent certified, you know, CPS, or not CPS, sorry, Customs and Border Patrol, CBP agent certified. Rashid al-Haddad vindicated. The American government's official position is that Rashid al-Haddad is not a Houthi. Okay, I think we could put to bed these claims, because I would otherwise be in jail right now, I guess, and be a precedent-setting legal case that undermines free press and free speech in this goddamn country.
Yeah, I mean, and then are the Houthis terrorists aside from by that definition? You don't comment because they might arrest you. In my opinion, they are not. Because
I told him that. I did tell him that. I was like, I think.
Oh, you shouldn't have done that. That's a bad idea.
No, I know. I told him I did like the softest approach. I was like, I'm of the mindset of the Brookings Institute when they wrote a report in 2020 that Donald Trump's assessment on his way out of the administration to declare the Houthis a terrorist organization was actually quite problematic, because it actually rendered aid. It stopped the rendering of aid. And it actually had zero impact on the Houthis because they had no financial incentives tied outside of Yemen. I told him that.
Yeah. And I mean, the entire reason that people are calling them terrorists is because of the blockade. If they weren't doing the blockade, none of these people would even be talking about them. Like, I don't know enough about what the Houthis have done aside from that to say that they haven't committed terrorist attacks or not. But that specific instance is not terrorist attacks. That specific action that they're taking isn't terrorist attacks. You know? And people just harp on that. Like, if this guy was actually a Houthi, if he had actually helped to hijack ships, good on him.
Yeah, this is the thing, like, that I tried to explain to everyone that doesn't listen, because I think that they care more about like a gotcha in their minds. But I was like, I don't care if he's a fucking Houthi, dude. I thought he was before I interviewed him. He has no reason to fucking lie to me. He said he's not a Houthi, and then we moved on to other shit. Like, but even if he was a fucking Houthi, it's not going to stop me from interviewing him. And I've stressed this so many fucking times, and people literally don't understand. They're like, nah, we got you, bro. You admitted he was a Houthi, and then you lied and you said he wasn't because you're scared. And it's like, no, I'm not. I think it's my constitutionally protected right as an American citizen to actually fucking conduct an interview with a member of the Ansar Allah administration if I fucking want to. Okay, I will have a Al Houthi family member if I want to. Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
I saw some of the slop tubers set up the argument that you shouldn't have done that by saying, like, well, you know, Osama bin Laden was interviewed, and that's not necessarily something that, you know, shouldn't be allowed to happen. But in Hasan's case, it's actually different for actually no reason at all, just because.
No, the reason is because they say Hasan glazed them. He asked them about fucking One Piece and shit.
You talked
That's
about
what it is,
anime.
where they're so stupid. It's like,
they didn't talk about anime with
I asked a 19-year-old Yemeni teenager who, even if he was a part of the fucking Houthi movement, I would not consider to be like an enemy of America, or even if he was an enemy of America, fucking good. We deserve to have a lot of these fucking enemies. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? What are they supposed to love us? Like, we did a fucking man-made blockade that created massive famine in the goddamn country, and we weren't even brave enough to do it ourselves. We let the fucking Saudis do it with our goddamn weapons and our fucking Air Force and our munitions. It was Boeing rockets that blew up the goddamn school bus in fucking Sanaa and shit. And oh my God, I can't believe they're walking over the Israeli and the American flag. Like, suck my dick, dude. They can do whatever the fuck they want with the American flag and the Israeli flag. I wipe my ass with the American flag. Fuck this.
Hell yeah. Do you?
But
you might get arrested for that soon.
I know, but it's like, I mean, this is the shit I do say all the time, and then people will clip it and be like, look, he's so radical and he's so scary. And it's like, Yeah, let's not investigate why people would be so resentful about America. Let's just simply talk about how Hasan only says America bad. You
Well,
know?
look, the next
Yeah, I
time
mean, like,
someone yells at you about that
in
and they
most of
clip you,
these
you should be like,
situations, it's
"Hey,
true.
hey, send them to me and tell them to debate me." Not because I want to like be your champion or something, but because I need people to debate because I destroy them and they're all scared, and I need someone to send them to me. So could you think about that?
Okay, I'll ask them to debate you in the
I would be
future.
the biggest fucking debate, bro, but I can't fucking find people to debate. Like the people who debate me are like random Reddit commenters who like send me emails and they're like, hey man, I'm an Ethan Klein fan and I wanted to talk about this thing that you said." And it's like I respect that you're willing to debate me, but I'd prefer to speak to someone who's like a YouTuber or a Twitch streamer or something rather than a random guy.
It's not gonna happen. The only reason why they do it to me is because one, I have a lot like no disrespect to you, but you are in the filth all the time. So like it's very hard to tackle your image in that way. Like it doesn't matter if they clip you out of context. Like
Yeah, I mean,
and
It's
then
the
also
boogeyman.
on
you should
top
get the
of
knife
that,
and be like this.
not only that, but also like you're what was I gonna say? I'm forgetting. It's fucking so late. Holy shit! I've been live since 11. I'm on my 10th hour right now.
You poor baby.
I've been alive since
Yeah,
yesterday at 4 p.m.
Oh
Get wrecked.
they
no,
won't. They'll never
poor
do it
guy.
because like they don't care about anything. They just like want to drive home a fucking narrative. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I get views though. I actually like people when they put me in the title, they actually get views, which is surprising. So
I don't think it's
that might
surprising.
entice them. I mean, I'm not that well known.
Okay, the mic. You guys are muted. 1 sec. Oh shit. I fucked up. 1 sec. Oh no, they're laughing. They're sharing so many laughs anti-Semitically. Um. Hold on, you guys are muted. Just letting you know.
Saying Ethan Klein debate me.
Okay, you're back. Ethan Klein debate me. He said
Hello.
that you got challenged.
Yeah, I was saying, Ethan Klein, debate me, Ethan Klein. Don't be a pussy. You can confront me. You can ask me why I called CPS. Did I call CPS? Let's find out, Ethan. You can ask me why I sent the skulls. Ethan, let's do it.
Debate
Let's
him.
go. Ethan.
See, that's what I
Ethan
mean. Like
Klein.
I'm not interested in any of these conversations. I
No, this is
don't.
activism. This is revolution.
That's what I mean. I like I don't really care about this stuff at all. I mean, it's a good entry point for you potentially to get Ethan to talk to you, but I don't think he's gonna
I think
do it.
it'd be fun.
Like I was saying, they're
I
gonna
think it'd
chop
be
this
fun.
up. They're gonna chop this up in a way where it's like they'll chop
Obviously.
it so much that it'll come across like I said I called CPS or something. Like right now, right this
You
at this
did,
very
though.
moment, they're gonna cut it like 2-second clip. And his fucking audience is so stupid that they will believe it. That's what pisses me off about everything. Like, sure, we talk about politics, we talk about the pessimism that we feel, but goddamn, there's nothing dumber than a fucking slop tuber enjoyer who unironically has an inflated sense of fucking intelligence from watching some of the dumbest people on the planet try to talk about complex political issues. There's nothing that breaks my brain more than like having to fucking entertain a guy who can't even string 3 fucking sentences together, being like, trying to repeat the talking points that they got from the likes of Ethan fucking Klein, who a couple years prior they would have openly recognized is a dumbass who is only predisposed with goofs and fucking gaffes. Or has
And
been
what
told.
about Ethan Klein's like original, like the way he gets the talking points in the first place is from like a game of telephone from his 5 staff members in ChatGPT. So and
I
then
don't
by the
even think
time it
it's
gets
his
to the other
tab. I
slop
think it's like
tubers,
Dan
Jesus.
Stalkman and fucking Sex Pest and Boner Box. Like I think it's those guys that are giving him talking points.
You could tell, like in the debate with you, when he started talking over you, he was actively asking ChatGPT for talking points, and
totally
then would
was,
just read them
totally.
verbatim. And he had never actually read them before. He was just going over them in that moment, especially during the part about like the Jewish expulsions.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that was the most obvious ChatGPT moment I've ever seen
Dude,
in my life.
I don't think it was ChatGPT. I suspect it was Boner Box that gave him like he clip chimped Avi Schleim, dude. That was
I'd do
so
that.
fucking devastating. I was like this is such a disservice to hundreds of thousands of people that are gonna fucking watch this and believe you. Like you are deluding
Yeah, I
hundreds of
mean,
thousands of people. It makes
that
me
debate was
so
such a
mad.
fucking shit show as well. Like literally just talking over you, reading like an entire thing that someone else sent him while you're still speaking. Like, oh, holy fuck. That would be my debate with him. But the thing is, I would like scream back at him. I would scream louder and I would win. So it's okay.
Yeah, that's not how that works. If I had screamed at any given moment in that over the course of 5 hours and 40 minutes, that would be the only thing that they plastered.
Triggered.
Because the conversation that I had with Ethan Pryor, where he like cried at the end of it because people were being mean to him, was literally
Did he
only
actually?
remembered by all of these fucking debate pornographers who only care about the blood sport, except for that one conversation that me and Ethan had 2 fucking years ago at this point, where Ethan Klein left crying. At that point, they said, Hasan, you're so mean. And that was the only narrative because they recognized that there was no fucking argument that Ethan could present that looked good. So they literally just hyper focused on how fucking mean I was when I told him I was entertaining him with kitty gloves. And it's mind boggling how quickly these fucking debate pedophiles will switch off. At one point, they fucking love the blood sport. But as soon as it's like no longer fashionable to love the blood sport because their side in the conversation is like losing the conversation, then the debate pedophiles turn around and hit the optics point to be like, I can't believe how sad he made his podcast co-host.
Yeah, like if those people give a shit about that. I mean, it's also like I hope you've learned since then that these people do not deserve you being nice to them. These people either directly support or tacitly support child murder, mass child murder. That's ultimately what it is. This is the main point of contention. Be mean to them. If they feel bad, if they feel harassed, honestly, great. I don't give a fuck. Fuck them. Fuck each and every one of them. We need to be mean to these guys. We need to be assholes. They deserve it. They really do just deserve it.
I think that there's no winning over the fucking slop tuber audiences. They're
too parasocial.
they have a stranglehold. They have a stranglehold on so much on the dumb guy contingency. And I think there was a point.
To see, like the same people who used to like screech about people crying about anti-Semitism are now doing that because suddenly Ethan Klein is their friend.
Yeah. I know. It's fucking it's so ridiculous. I mean, the people themselves, they say anti-Semitic shit. They say actually anti-Semitic shit. And then they turn around and they're like, wow, these guys are being big anti-Semites. Fucking so annoying. Anyway, I got to go to bed. I'm so tired.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Do you have someone else? No problem. It's finally great to talk to Hasan Piker, the perfidious Ottoman. The Ottoman Hasan Piker has been confronted by BadEmpanada, wanted international criminal. Multiple counts of crimes committed by BadEmpanada, platformed by Hasan Piker. Hasan Piker, anti-Semite, platformed BadEmpanada on his stream.
Agrees with everything.
Someone get that to the New York Post, please. Thank you.
Yeah. The New York Times.
He agrees with everything that I say.
The New York Times. Get it to CNN.
Do you condemn him? No, he says.
Do you condemn BadEmpanada?
That's so funny. That's gonna be the next question. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
I forgot to say
something. Coming on.
I've had people stopped at the border of the U.S. and asked about their association with me. So next time it might happen.
For real?
Okay, we'll
Oh,
see. I
yeah.
wouldn't put it past them. They asked me about my Twitch bans, so all right.
Cool. Next
Peace,
time.
everybody.
Sabra hummus. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Sabra hummus. That's the greeting. Do you have someone else coming on, Noah?
I have someone at 10:30.
What time is it now?
It's 10:10, so 20 minutes. So we
All
can
right. I haven't
debrief.
drunk water in like 3 hours, so I should probably go.
Yeah, it's late. What time is it for you?
2 a.m.
Oh God, yeah. Go drink some water, man.
in my undisclosed location. No one knows where it is. Definitely not Argentina.
Delicious
But
water from prison. You own that guy's ass, dude.
I'll give you permission to put one of my videos on if you want to take a break until
Oh,
your next
sure,
guest
yeah.
comes on.
Yeah, I'll do that.
The one about the lies they told about South African apartheid. I think that's a good one to show all the people who are still here because of Hasan having been here.
Yes. Free promo. Also, you said you don't want me to get a tattoo if I hit 500K of your logo?
Not of me.
Channel
Please,
logo.
not of
Not your
me.
face. Not your face.
I just linked the video. Like you just play that for the next 20 minutes if you want. It's about that long.
Sure.
And
Wait.
but please don't get a tattoo of me. I don't know what you should get a tattoo of, but not of my logo. I'm probably gonna change my channel name and logo at some point because it's childish and what a fucking name. Bad. What the fuck? I don't want to be known as that. Fuck.
Yeah.
BadEmpanada? No, please. I need a real name. Not that.
There's a lot of you're carrying a lot of baggage with the name. Yeah, just change your name.
No, not
your
because of that. It
location.
sounds like what is that even? It doesn't mean it's so
BadEmpanada.
stupid.
It's pretty stupid.
The empanada is bad because it smokes cigarette and it has a backwards cap. Do you get it? What was I thinking?
He's
Worst mistake of
naughty.
my life.
Naughty empanada.
Yeah,
all
it's a joke. Anyway,
I won't do it.
so I'm gonna head out because it's 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Thank you for finally facilitating my confrontation with the perfidious Ottoman Turk.
We did it.
Hasan Piker.
We did it, chat.
Yep.
And he got owned.
Play the video if you want. You have my permission. Goodbye, everyone.
Everybody say bye, chat. Bye-bye. Wow. What an incredible moment in time. And now there's two of me. Holy shit. Did I just link them up for a beautiful, perfect podcast? Is that real?